All right, we'll go ahead and call to order the July 24th, 2018 City Council meeting for City of Bay St. Louis. Reverend Reed, if you lead us in the invocation, we'll say the pledge.
Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Now, Father, we thank you today for your kindness, your goodness, your mercy. We thank you for your good hand being upon our citizenry and for your good hand being upon the leaders of this city. Father, we ask and continually ask for your wisdom and your knowledge and your understanding. As we spread our agenda before you, give us wisdom to make decisions on behalf of our city and our citizens. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good deal. Thank you all for being here tonight. All right, first up, we have a public hearing for 5211 First Avenue. Done. Do we have anyone here on the 5211 First Avenue property? Okay, Mr. Don, go ahead.
First one we have is 5211 First Avenue. To declare it a menace. All necessary paperwork has been completed with notices. One notice has went to the owner's physical address and another one has done to the property address. It's been posted on 2 city buildings and residents.
Okay. And this is for, looks like cleaning grass, debris?
No, so this is actually to remove a structure. From our building inspector, his report that the structure is unsafe structure.
And no response from the property owners?
Yes, actually, I talked to them at 4 o'clock. They were supposed to have a meeting with me today to go over some things on the structure. They do understand that the structure is not really fit and it's unrepairable. Apparently, they got in an accident this evening and they're unable to make it.
Okay.
The building official that inspected this house and condemned it, he's a certified building official?
It's building inspectors.
They
are
certified building inspectors. At the time of the inspection, were they both certified building
Yes, sir.
inspectors? Okay. Thank you.
With the I would go ahead and make the motion to declare 5211 First Avenue a menace to be demolished. Is this going to be at the city's expense and adjudicate the taxes? Don?
Yes,
Okay, all right. And you'll bring bids back for that?
sir.
You'll bring the bids back for that?
Or
Or
I'm sitting here looking for the estimate. I have an estimate from one contractor, and I have an estimate from the city. I'm looking for it.
If I may, I actually don't think he has to bring the,
Okay.
probably needs to
Yeah.
go to the mayor first, let the mayor sit
Alright.
there, figure out the best way, and then if for some reason they need to enter into a contract with somebody, then that could come before y'all, but if not, then you guys don't have to worry about it.
Okay, all right, I'll go ahead and proceed with my motion then.
Okay, under the ordinance as it is, Heather, the people got into an accident coming here and everything. If they're looking to work with the city and whether they're willing to do it, or they just say, go ahead and do it, I mean, they still have some time frame to get this done, or, I mean, we're not gonna go tear it down tomorrow, obviously.
Yeah, my advice would be to let Don go ahead and work with them and see if we can try to get some resolution on it. I mean, technically, all your notices are right. You know, if you wanted to, you could, maybe if he can't resolve it, if you wanted to try to bring this one back, it might be a good, I think I would just play this by ear.
Mhm.
If you don't mind me, what I talked to them about, and they was coming to see us about, the pilings that holds the structure is concrete, and they are 100%. The problem on top of the piling that goes to your main floor joists is completely rotten. And their question was to meet with us to see if they can reuse the pilings to rebuild the structure.
Okay.
That's what we was discussing.
Okay.
They understand that the structure is unsafe.
Okay.
So I would just encourage Don to keep me in the loop on this one, and then we'll just kind of gauge it together as to how to proceed with it.
So I think we'll go ahead and do the motion to proceed.
Yeah, we'll do the motion to proceed.
And I'll second the motion.
All right, motion, Mr. Salvo, and seconded by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion from the council?
Just if on the research of piling, of course, they would have to go up, correct, in height, elevation?
Yes, but they would have to get an approval of engineers
Right, it had to be an
in order to
engineered
get that
stamp.
done,
Right,
to add
engineered.
on to the existing
Okay, as long
piling.
as they understand the cost of getting an engineered structure, they would have to have, it before it come back to the city for a building department, actually.
That is correct.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? All right. Vote to motion. Motion passed 7-0. Next up is 10002 Perch Street.
Yes.
Do we have anyone here on Perch Street? What's going on with that one then?
This is another structure that's very unsafe. All necessary paperwork has been done, filed, and posted on city buildings and on the residence. One was sent to the residence, one was sent to the physical address of the owner, and no response. This one was also stated from the building inspector that this would be a demo house, unsafe conditions of this property.
Any council discussion? We have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Don, for the record, have all the notices been provided?
Yes.
All right. With all the information provided, I'll go ahead and make a motion. 10002 Perch Street, Bay St. Louis, be declared a menace to be demolished.
Okay, motion, Mr. Salvo,
Second?
second, Mr. Smith. Any further discussion from the council?
Yes, was certified building inspector used on this property as well?
At the time of the inspection,
Inspection?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Please make that part of the record, Ms. Tilly.
All right, anything else? All right, vote the motion. Motion passed 7-0. All right. Next up, we have 4059 Robin Street.
4056.
I've got 4059 on everything else.
Yeah, I seen that. Correct, over there, it says 4059. I mean, I'm sorry, 4056.
4056?
Correction, I'm wrong. Y'all right. 4059, you are correct.
Okay. Do we have a record of where the notices were sent? Was that the correct address?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
This is another structure for demo. At the time of inspection, a certified inspector.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Makes a difference when you go to court.
Yes, I have the geo portal that shows the address as well.
Okay. All right.
All right. Anyone here on the Robin Street property? If you want to speak on behalf or against tearing it down, you're welcome, but.
Ha-
There is, old cabinets and stuff on the back. We just purchased a property next door about a year ago.
Can you state your name for the
My
record?
name's Philip Lake,
Okay.
and every time the wind blows, the insulations, I mean, but the, structure, he lives on the other side, taking pictures, it's
Mhm.
really, it's in bad shape.
Needs
So the
good.
first storm that comes, it's a heavy.
Absolutely.
It's-
All
I'd
right.
like to thank y'all, for prayer, that's pretty awesome.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you.
Also what he was saying on that property, there's actually side boards falling off of it,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
it's,
yeah, all right. I'll go ahead and make a motion, declare 4059 Robin Street, a menace to be demoed.
All right, motion by Mr. Salvo, second by Mr. Zimmerman. Any further discussion from the council? Vote to motion. Motion passes 7-0. All right, last on the public hearings list, we have 4073 Barracuda Street.
I'm sorry,
Anyone here on that property? Okay.
on that property, that was supposed to be on hold.
On
They're
hold.
changing ownerships right now, and the people that's looking at buying it, they're already aware that the structure needs to be possibly removed. So
Okay.
that one is actually on hold, and I'll let y'all know what happens further on that.
All right, thank you, Don.
That's good. All right. As far as Don's report and the houses and properties on the report, does anyone have any questions in their ward or any questions at all for that matter? Mr. Don?
I'll get with them.
Mhm.
Thank you, Don, appreciate you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
Appreciate it. All right, next up, we have our guests. We have Ms. Christian Gunter from South Mississippi Planning and Development regarding the pavement management plan preservation. Good evening.
Thank you.
Y'all give us 5 minutes to read through this quick.
We're actually only gonna give you about 5 minutes and then take them back. We had a little error in the ward boundaries for 5 and 6, with some of the GIS data that we had collected. So we will pick those up, get those revised, get the maps changed. Your total numbers, the actual information in the report doesn't change. It's just those 2 ward-specific pieces will be, a little bit different. So, Mayor, Council, we appreciate the opportunity to come back to you. Kristen Gunner with Southern Mississippi Planning and Development District. Also have our team from Civil Link and Ergon with us tonight to answer any questions that y'all may have. As you said, it is a lot of information in that report. It's a lot to digest. So we're gonna give you the really quick 30,000-foot look, dig into it. Let's come back and sit down and really work through it, through a work session, individual meetings, however y'all want to do it. So, as we talked about at the beginning, your roads are one of your most valuable assets. You're always under pressure to lower taxes, do more with the dollar. This plan is a tool to help you spend your road money efficiently and invest in the preservation of your roadways. All right, overall look, Bay St. Louis, got 144 miles of roadway. We have, Ms. Lisa, if you can go back up one for me. No problem. We've got about 118 miles of asphalt, about 2.5 of concrete, and roughly about 24 miles of gravel roads make up your 144 miles. And that was your overview map. So your asphalt roads, not in too bad a shape. You're looking at about 72% of your asphalt roads are good preservation candidates. So that's a good place to be. And then we have another larger section, you can see just to the right of the orange arrow, that are your typical mill and fill your overlay candidates. But you have very, very little in the way of your asphalt roads that are just completely lost and completely gone. So we're at a good starting point. We're at a good place to start implementing this plan. But then you look at these numbers. So that first column, I apologize, it's a little fuzzy. If you were to go in and address all of your asphalt roads today, touch every inch of them, to get them up to a good condition, you're looking about $8.5 million. That's a lot. So where do we start? What can we look at? One of the things that we look at is a yearly mileage slide. So when you're looking at the scale, the rating of the roads, the 9 on down to 1, we're estimating about a total of maybe 17.8 miles would possibly start to slide down into those next lower categories. So in order to keep your road network at its current condition, your asphalt roads, you'd be looking at about $1.3 million just to keep it where it's at. So kind of gives you an idea, scale, scope of what your issue is. And we'll run through these. So we've got these for your concrete and your gravel roads too. Same basic information. Concrete total cost about $460, $61,000 to keep them where they are. You have very, very few concrete roads in relation to your asphalt. Gravel roads. Mr. DeSalvo.
I know where about 20 of them miles are at.
So you can see that the majority of those roads would be categorized for major rehab or reconstruction. And, you'll switch to the next one for me? Estimating costs on gravel roads is very, very difficult. We've put some numbers up there, but, that's definitely something that we're gonna have to work through as you, look at kind of really road specific and drainage issues and things like that. But again, current total cost, maybe about $275,000 to keep your gravel roads in a decent condition. This spreadsheet does not tell you the cost to take those gravel roads to asphalt or to put on a micro layer or something like that. That is outside of the scope of this spreadsheet. And please ignore the table up top because we do have, like I said, some errors on Ward 5 and 6 that are incorrect. But your totals, again, you're roughly 118, 2.5, 24 miles. But you can see that your total, the page on the right is the first page in your very back appendix. So you can see it a little bit better. But it shows you your total cost on total square yards and then your total cost, how we got to that 8.5 million, where it breaks out into the different types of treatments that you could put on your asphalt roads, the different types of treatments for concrete, and then the different types of treatments for gravel roads. Also in your report, after that, you'll have, your pages will turn landscape on you. That's an alphabetical listing of all of the roads in the city so that you can easily flip to any road that you may want to look at. So you have, it goes through your overall, all of the city, you goes through all the asphalt, all the concrete, and then all of the gravel roads, and then you go into your specific alphabetical listing of every road in the city. Again, and you'll see, you'll have multiple entries for individual roads if there's maybe a change in condition along the length of the road or a change in collector status, traffic counts. You'll see multiple entries there. And then it rolls into your ward maps. If you'll flip through them. Next one. And then you've got your website. So your website is up and functioning. We'll email y'all the link and then you'll go in, register for it, and you can access it. But you can click on, so the line work that's on the website corresponds with the line work that's in your maps in the report in front of you. And as you click, it'll pull up the road and it'll drive you right down the road. You can slow it down, you can speed it up, you can actually hit the little button, make the video go full screen so that you can see what the issues are and see what you're looking at. And you have that right in front of you. You have that tool. You can even pull it up on your phone. if you've got good, good connection, you can pull it up on your phone, where you can readily answer questions, or you can address issues that may come up. So that's one of the unique tools that's part of this, is having the website and that video readily accessible to you. It's a whole lot to digest. It's a lot of information in there. But we wanted to just kind of give you a real quick introduction to it. And we're here to answer any questions that you may have tonight. Certainly want to come back after you've had a chance to look through it and talk through some things and answer any other questions that y'all may have.
What about funding sources? Do you have access to?
We have access to some funding through the Economic Development Administration, depending on what type of development is along the road. GRPC really is as the MPO, they are your MDOT funding and Federal Highway. So we work in partnership with them to help address those needs for the city. So we could, certainly support them and help y'all utilize this tool in working with them and applying for funding. But the report doesn't come with a ready open checkbook, no. We'd be very popular if it did.
You're right.
But we certainly can help work through some of those.
That's a magnificent report.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity to work with y'all on this, to work with Hancock County, Waveland, and Diamond Head as a whole, and to look at this. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity to leverage projects and working together to get reduced costs on your products and things like that. Let's definitely keep the discussion open, and we can help to facilitate that as we move forward and work with all of the different entities as y'all start to implement your plans. Yes, sir. I think Fire Tower was, Amy, help me on this. Fire Tower was scrub and a micro over it. So that's your 2 treatments, and you're gonna get once we fix the ward data, I'm gonna give you each a jump drive where you're gonna have the treatment presentation that we went through that has a lot of the videos and really the details on the different treatments. You've got kind of some one-pager cheat sheets in your report. But so Fire Tower Road had a chip seal put down that fills the cracks, and then a micro went over it to smooth it out.
In the report, it's under Cape Seal, what it's called.
Right, it's called a Cape Seal, which meaning the 2 treatments. So that's one that's here in Hancock County, and I think they'll probably be doing some more in the future. And as different entities, we're working on Harrison County's plan right now. We've finished up Biloxi's. As the different municipalities in the county start implementing these, we'll let y'all know. Hey, this treatment is going down here. This fog seal's going, or Biloxi's doing crack seal on this, right? And then that way you can go take a look at it and see if it's something, and you get a little bit better understanding of what you're looking at. We appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Thank you very much. You said you need these back, Chris?
If you don't mind, and I will get those back to y'all. Digital copies. Specs and all your videos and everything.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Mr. Cure, Mike Cure, for temporary fence for property on the corner of Main Street and Beach for starting the hotel project.
Second Street coming off of there.
So we're always setting up a different yard.
Yeah, he just wants to, temporary, yeah, 6-foot fence for a temporary, storage yard.
Okay,
It would go in, yeah.
Ms. Ladner,
have that in.
Ms. Smith.
Go
By-
either.
By our current zoning regulations, are we allowed to just give temporary dispensation for things that are not allowed in our zoning ordinance?
All I know about this is the piece of paper that you guys have, but I do not think that our zoning ordinances actually speak to anything regarding like a temporary type fence.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think he's just wanting a temporary yard set up so they could put equipment and parking in. It's not gonna be permanent. So he needs to have that fence as a,
Yeah, I think it's something hand in hand with the hotel when when it gets to occupancy and all, it would come down.
right.
So he's talking about the 100 block of State Street directly behind the theater.
Correct.
coming.
Yes,
He's talking about putting a chain link fence up there, 6 foot. A 4 foot would be allowed.
yes.
4 foot would be allowed, 6 foot would be, I think it's 20, 25 feet off the road,
But
if I'm
the
not mistaken.
chain link is not necessarily allowed in the
So
historic
Chain
district.
link is not allowed, and that's what he's
Right.
asking for, along with 6 foot on the road.
As long as it's temporary, I don't see an issue. I mean, he has to protect his,
Yeah.
his
I mean,
property and the materials he's gonna be using to put the
Definitely want to
hotel
get the
up.
project started and get the hotel put up. So
Right.
what, do we want to put a time restriction on temporary statue?
We could,
Is there any rush on, I would rather take this and let me look into
No,
it
planning
and look
and
into
zoning.
zoning and,
It's not allowed by zoning ordinance. It's illegal. Can't do it.
Can't do it.
Nope. I want to try it done too, but illegal to do it. There's no statute in our ordinance that allows us. Great project, great thing to do.
yeah, but this, it's a temporary, so
Okay, find an ordinance where it says we can give temporary dispensation.
does it say we can't?
Does not address it, everything is on an ordinance, it's addressed specifically.
Would it be addressed in a lay-down yard situation?
Lay-down yards are not allowed in C1. We have to have a variance, a special exception, and I don't mind giving
That's what-
those,
that's
once
what
we
I'm
go through
thinking,
the
yeah,
process.
that's what I was gonna say. I
Right.
think the
Let's go through the
appropriate
process, you
place
give
to
it.
bring this would be to P and Z. I think it
But,
needs to
and I
go
don't
to P
mind
and Z
giving it,
first.
once we go, because then you put stipulations on it. Not against it, just do it the right way.
I agree.
So he can just tell him to push it to P and Z?
Yeah, that would be my suggestion.
And it's got the historical.
When's our
commission's
next
gonna
P&Z?
Prove and deny it, but
Jason?
Well, it's
Kyle,
gonna have
when's
to
the
go
next
through-
P&Z?
It's gonna have to go,
Next week.
it's gonna have to go through P and Z and historical.
And,
Not
yes,
Right.
historical too, cause
Yeah,
it's,
it's in a historical district. Approving the variance, and then we can bring it back.
I'm not against it. But
No,
you
it's
start
gonna be done the right way.
deviating
I
Right.
from Giving
agree
people
1,000%
exceptions,
with
then
that.
you don't grant favors, you don't ask for favors.
Okay.
All right, so any other discussion on this? Yes, not. All right, so recommendations to push to, planning and zoning and historical for approval or disapproval of the requested variance, and then we can address it from there. Thank you. All right, Mr. Rodney Davis, discussion of the utility audit.
Okay, we, was here last week, and we talked about the, I'm sorry, Kathy Vanessa, sorry. And we talked about doing the audit for the water utility. I did include the line to verify the garbage, sewer, and gas customers as well. So it would be all-inclusive on your customers for verification and all within what is out in the streets and what is in your billing system.
Thank you.
I think that was one of the questions, and then the other concern was if we could go back after we approved one and rescind it and approve this one, Ms.
Yeah, Ms.
Smith.
Heather,
I'm sorry. The,
rescind the first one and put this one in its place.
would it
Yeah,
be
but-
legal? That was the question.
that's correct. The first contract you had approved, pending my review, so it actually hasn't gone into place yet. So if you wanted to, but you would want to rescind that because it's never been executed either. But it's
Correct.
still floating around out there, so you would want to clear up your record and, let everybody know, make it clear.
Okay.
I have, some discussion before we even rescind anything. My recommendation, well, and I'm just one vote, is if we go back and rescind this, then I don't recommend approving, although I think it's you all have a great contract, but I recommend bringing both of them companies back to the table, because I think there's some, as we discussed in the last meeting, being a contractor, I've had things like this done, wherein, okay, you bid something, you help somebody win the award, and then once you awarded it, then they go back and they find somebody cheaper, and then they give the contract to them. And I think this is basically what has happened. We in good faith, gave the contract. We didn't approve it or anything, but, just a handshake, basically, with until you found some things to, until we finalize it. But then we go and we find somebody cheaper, and then we're going to rescind that one and then award it to somebody cheaper without giving the other one the opportunity to come back in and say, hey, wait, maybe I can do some things too if we bring both of them back to the drawing board and let both of them bid fair. All right. And what I'm thinking is you all saw their contract, but they didn't see you all's contract. But if we rescind it, then give opportunity for both of you all to bring us back a new contract. And let's
Okay.
look at it.
If I may, just for 1 second. We were asked to come for the work that we did with the city of Waveland.
I understand.
We did not solicit.
No.
I understand that too.
And generally, being in the business that we're in and the bids that we answer, and this was not a bid, contracts are not shared between competitors, and they're not done in an open forum and discussed and go back and forth with contract prices or contract negotiations between two competitors at the same time in the same place.
Yeah. And
But here's the thing, I listened to you in the last meeting, and as I read over the other guy's contract, I mean, you word for word said some things that were in their contract and how they do things in their contract. Now, I'm not saying you read their contract, but I know word for word you said what was in their contract. And the bottom line with me is this here. In good faith, we gave it to somebody. Then somebody went out, found somebody else cheaper who was doing something for a neighboring city. So we're going to rescind the one that we gave it to and give it to somebody else we found cheaper without giving the other ones the opportunity to come back to the table. Now, to me, that seems unethical.
Well,
to me.
with all due respect, Mr. Reed, we did it to the street sweeper guy too that got the bid and walked out. Thought he sold the street sweeper for $150,000. We rescinded it. But in
It
all
was
due
at a higher
respect,
price.
all due respect, I asked last meeting when we was discussing this, I said, has somebody else set up for a meeting next week? If y'all give me a week or so, we can hold off. It wasn't like I was trying to backdoor anybody. I was transparent about it at the previous meeting, if I'm not. I said, I got somebody else, they did Wavelands. I got a meeting set up with them on Wednesday. They charge a flat fee instead of percentage-based, and I would like to have both proposals so we can really compare everything. And Mr. Seal said, we've been talking about since 2014, I'm ready to move forward, I want to make a motion, I want to go. I said, I would like a little more time, just have this meeting so we can get both prices and look at everything, but we kind of got in a hurry at that meeting. So I didn't do this after the fact. I had this meeting set up before that meeting and asked for time at that meeting to explore this option to give the residents of Bay St. Louis. My utility customers aren't gonna save a dime either way. It's everybody else is up here that's gonna be paying 55% of the money for 3 years if they go the other way, when you could possibly save hundreds of thousands of dollars of their money.
Yes.
So I'm working for the city of Bay St. Louis's best interest at this point, not even my ward.
And I agree with you.
Is that why? No, so it wasn't like I went out and solicited them after the fact. I was very clear at the last meeting.
We are trying to save the citizens a lot of money by doing this. This is not anything that we're doing behind anybody's back. We have total transparency on this. These people have given us a price. They gave us a price during a workshop. They opened up everything to us. They've been completely
Yeah.
forward with everything from the very beginning. So I don't think that this is a extreme situation or anything. I think we just need to simply go through, dump the first contract and go with these people, because it's gonna save the citizens a lot of money. We
Well-
don't need to be paying these people 55% for 3 years.
Well,
Mr. President, I'd like to make a point.
Sure.
When we did go out and look at street sweepers, we wrote up a set of bid specs, and it was offered out there because it was based on a dollar value. This comes in at between 5,000 and under 50,000. And I don't believe the council even put this out for bid. So I'm not really sure where this came about, because if we were wanting to get other prices, we should have wrote up some bid specs and bid on it, sent it to the city clerk and let them post it. Now, I've read the contract, and they are very highly recommended with Waveland. I've gotten a couple calls from Waveland. I'm just not in agreement with the process the way it took place. And I think if, we act as a council, we speak through our minutes, and if we're gonna put something out for bid, we have to open it to everybody. Now, I don't have any issues that if we wanted to put this out for bid and then let everybody resubmit it, be on an equal playing field, that'd be great.
and again, I'm not,
Done professional services also for the contract.
That's what I'm about to say,
And-
this wouldn't be,
Right.
I mean, unless you just wanted to bid it, this wouldn't classify as a bid, this would most likely be a request for proposals
And I don't think that that's
for
necessary.
a service.
and again, I think it's a great contract. I think there's a lot of savings in there. I just being in the profession of bidding, contracts, I just got this, it don't sit with me,
Well, one
you
of
know,
them-
unless,
if I could say, one of them's a bid, or a proposal for a set price. The other one's based on percentage, what they find for the next 3 years. That's what they asking you to decide. If they find nothing, they get paid nothing. They banking on finding something. If they find nothing, they still get paid. So, and that's what the difference in the two proposals are.
But at least we know our cost this way going into it,
Yeah.
just a
Exactly.
fixed
So
cost.
that's what we need to decide.
Exactly.
If we wanna go do something different, let's go another route then. I believe our system needs to be audited.
No, they're gonna find
I
stuff.
think we've been finding, things. Doug stated in the other one about the apartments. Started doing in-house, on that, just looking at paperwork.
Absolutely.
Either one of these would have been paid for with probably this one fine. So,
So, just to clarify, because it's a service contract, even though we go from a $0 contract unless they find something to a contract that we're approving for an upfront cost, then it is not required to go through the bid process, advertising and all that. If we decided to do anything, we'd do a request for proposal.
Request for
And
proposals.
we would ask that they come in by a certain date with a proposal. Everybody would give their proposal, and then we decide at that time.
That's correct.
And shared savings contracts are standard. We've seen them for 15, 20 years. They benefit the company who is doing the audit. They always get the higher percentage, whether it's 45, 55, 60, 40, however it works out. And majority of the time, they work for 12, 18 months, and then the rest of your time period, they're just reaping the excess on what was done. They generally do not continue audit for the 30 years.
Exactly. And the big question too was the rate increases, you know, if we have to raise rates next year because they have a major break and they found 300 or 400 accounts bad, they're getting 55% of that rate increase
rate
the other
increase.
way. I mean, it's just, that was my point to the whole thing. That's why I think this is a better deal for the citizens.
It is.
If I knew the opposition was gonna be like this, I wish it had been before they gave us a price in public also, because they did give a fixed price in public, not a percentage price. Nobody knows what that percentage price is gonna be. They come bid a lower percentage, but we don't know the price because we don't know in the system. But these numbers have been released already publicly, so it's kind of putting them in a bad disadvantage to try to go for proposals at this point, I feel.
Where did the original negotiation take place?
What's that?
I mean, when y'all first started talking about this contract?
Negotiation was hearing what they were selling.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, could you hold on?
I'm
Did
not
y'all-
gonna get in this political argument with you, Mr. Noblock, I'm sorry. They met at my office.
And who was
That's
there?
where I met 'em. Myself and them.
And wow, was the council president notified?
I notified everybody that was coming at the meeting I'm at and tell them.
I'm just
Specific
saying
date.
that, you know, if we're gonna negotiate contracts, that's a council procedure, not an individual
I didn't
procedure.
negotiate a contract. We're negotiating contracts right now.
They have a standard contract
I
that
didn't
they give to
negotiate a
everybody. They
contract.
gave the same contract to Wayland. It is what it is. Would you like to make a motion?
Mr. Noah,
I think we are obligated as a council to save the citizens of Bay St. Louis every penny that we can save by their tax dollars. I think that's our obligation, that's our job. We did not realize that these people did this job, we found out about it, and we would like to do it. I think it's our obligation to follow through. If it's legal, it's not against the law. If the city attorney says it's legal and not against the law, I don't have a problem with it myself.
Well, I agree with Mr. Reed. I think if we're going to go out there and put something for bid, it's between $5,000 and $50,000. I think we need to open it up to everybody else that wants to put a proposal in. I think it's a great thing. It needs to be done, but I just don't agree with the procedure that it was handled.
No.
How do we want to move forward? Need a motion from somebody to do something, or we just take no action?
I make a motion, we rescind the contract with Water Company of America. Is that the name of it?
Yes,
That'd be my motion.
a second.
With discussion?
Sure.
All right, motion, Mr. Salvo, second, Mr. Smith, discussion, Mr. Reed.
Now, once again, I just want to state that I think you all have a great contract. I think it's saving citizens money. I'm all in favor of rescinding what we voted in. But with the next motion, I'm not in favor of it because, again, it's, I think, yes, we are obligated to save the citizens money, but I think also we're obligated to do it a certain way. And that's the feeling, that's my gut feeling that I don't think we're doing it the right way.
What did we do wrong?
I'm not saying we've done
You're
anything wrong.
insinuating that you've insinuated that they've seen their proposal.
I'm not
and
insinuating
you did
nothing.
You did insinuate it.
Uh,
You insinuated they've
Reed, you said they
seen
did.
their contract and used that contract to come up with their price. These are two different
Mr.
total
Mayor,
contracts.
You
No, wait
hear
a-
what I
wait a minute.
said? I said, I
Wait a
heard
minute.
her stand up there and I heard her say some things word for word, what was in their
Insinuating that
contract.
they've seen that
Now,
contract.
I didn't say that. So you can't assume that I said that. I did not say that.
Go back to
So don't go back and say that that's what I said. I
You're
said,
insinuating
she
right now
said,
that something was done wrong with bringing them in.
I said she
and getting the
said
contract.
some things that was in that contract word for word. I didn't say she read them people's contract.
But you're saying you didn't like the way it was done if things wasn't done
I
right.
don't like the way it was done.
And that's fine, it's everybody's opinion, but I'm telling you, that what, this is up and up, there was nothing done illegal about this.
I'm not saying nothing was done
You
illegal.
sure talking that, you
I'm
know.
just telling you
So I
that
just
my
want
gut
that to be known
feeling,
that, you know,
because
this is straight up
I'm
and
into
everything
bidding
else.
and I'm into contracts and stuff. I've seen it done with contracts. I'm not
Don't
saying they
assume it
done
was done
anything
here.
wrong.
You assuming it was done here, and that's totally wrong.
I think the gentleman even stated in his.
I'm not
his,
assuming anything.
I believe the gentleman stated the other night in his thing that he came forward to show us what they could do, that he was familiar with the other company's contract. Am I stating that correctly?
Correct, we've run up against
That
them
because they're in the
before.
same business, that he is familiar with their contract.
They're boilerplate contracts, basically with every shared savings contractor out there. Just like if you look at our contract that nobody saw until we walked in here for the work session. Nobody knew our price, nobody knew our contract until it was presented to you at the work session. That was the first time anybody laid eyes on it. You can ask Waveland to look at our contract, except for the scope, because we worked in Waveland for 4 years. The scope is the only thing that's different, along with a small difference in cost. Other than that, the contract is exactly the same as the one that we use across Louisiana and across Mississippi.
Mr. Reed, none of our jobs that we do on our audit, we ever bid out. Everything is negotiated. We get in front of the council, straightforward, and we present our program to the people.
I mean, yes, I've read your contract, and like I said, it's a great contract. It saves us money. I have no problem with it. I'm just saying my gut feeling is that
Well, I understand that.
we should give everybody the opportunity to come back to the, if we're gonna rescind it.
That would be
That's
my
it.
thoughts also. I mean, and like I said, I've gotten several calls from, actually 2 from the city of Waveland, and y'all's reputation's impeccable.
We appreciate that.
I mean, and I just when we bid out things, everybody's looking at us. And I'm not saying that we're doing it the wrong way, but I would just rather just put out the proposal, because we did somebody who's probably done a little bit of work already, or a little bit of preparation, you know, in expectation of the contract being signed. And it's a different one because there's no money up front. In other words, we don't have to pay for anything. It's only on what they find. I wish that when we were talking about the other one, then y'all would have talked first. And that way, you know, we could have said, okay, unless we got this individual, they have their system, they have your system, and then bring this back, you know, with sealed bids, or open it up in front of everybody, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't aware of
And
anything
I
going
don't,
on here.
yeah, and it's not y'all's fault.
Currently, we have a motion on the table to rescind the bid, or the proposal that we accepted through Water Companies of America. And currently, that's the only motion that's on the table. Is
Correct.
to rescind that.
Correct.
Okay. Any further discussion on rescinding that off? Okay, vote the motion. Motion passes 7-0 to rescind. Okay. Any further action tonight going to be taken on this issue?
I would like to I'd like to make a motion that we would bid out this proposal so other interested parties could also put in with similar specs like they designed.
Substitute motion. My substitute motion is to go ahead and allow this company to be the company that we
There's a
use
motion already.
to,
I think we need to make sure there's not a second.
Yeah, there's a motion already.
There's a motion on it.
And then-
Second, I
Yeah, but
second Mr.
substitute.
Novak's motion.
He did that to me too, and I'm like, hey.
yes, the substitute motion in the,
I think you would need to just see what happens with this one,
Okay.
and then you can
all right.
make
an
another one,
alternative
but
motion.
also, Mr. Knobloch, are you wanting, you said bids, are you wanting to put a request for proposal?
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Okay, I just wanted
I'm
to
still
clarify.
learning the,
Oh, I
you know, the
completely
different things, but
understand.
all I want to do is just make sure that this is done correctly, that's all. And that, you know, that I'd like to amend the motion to put this out for proposal, that's all.
Okay, and if you're putting it out for proposals, would you like your engineer and I to get involved to help draft this proposal?
No, I think something similar that they put, but I don't want to put theirs out there.
Exactly. If you're wanting to see RFPs based on the scope that we've presented, I don't think it's fair to, you know, us, or you can put out a proposal based on their shared savings. It's, you know, if you use our scope, it's a disadvantage. If you use their scope, it's a disadvantage. You're not gonna have a brand new scope out there, you're taking one that's already been presented to you.
I think that we
Or
should,
two. Well, either way you win, it's a proposal that's already been presented.
I think that we should not go out to RFP with this. We have two companies in front of us that we've, are qualified, that we've agreed on is qualified to do the job. I think what Jeff Reed is looking for is more a sense of fair play to both companies. I don't think that we should allow either company to change their financial numbers, their quotation on these projects. But I do think that we should give them both the opportunity to come back at the next meeting, plead their case, and we can make a decision based on that at that time. That's my thoughts. I agree, it doesn't, I don't see anything illegal, I don't see anything backhanded, but it doesn't sit well that we gave it to somebody, we're taking it away, and they haven't had a chance to come back to the table yet. That's just my thoughts on it.
I agree. See,
I'll go ahead and withdraw my motion and make
I
a new
just amended
motion
it, yeah.
that we allow both parties to come back and make a pitch, and we'll pick the best pitch or the best deal for the city.
Subject to their
Subject to
current
the
contracts.
attorney's review,
Of their current contract,
yes.
no changes.
I second it.
All right, motion, Mr. Knobloch, second, Mr. Reed. Any further discussion from the council? Vote the motion. Motion passes 4-3. Mr. Salvo, Mr. Zimmerman, and Mr. Smith dissenting. Can you place that on the next agenda, Lisa, please? Thank you. And can you let us know the date of that meeting so we
So,
can, 8/7?
okay.
8/7?
Yeah,
So,
August the seventh.
and it's only gonna be them two, and neither one can change theirs.
Correct. It's just a chance for them to come and plead their case.
Okay. I don't think that's right, but this is a witch hunt after me politically. This is all this is about, and it's sickening to me.
I mean, what's the witch hunt?
I have to disagree with that, Mr. DeSalvo.
You're giving both parties to come back, and you're not letting one party just come in and, you know, and not giving the other party a fair shot.
I think they both had a shot to present their case and their contracts and the
We're a
numbers.
totally
They both
different
had.
company.
Percentage.
They do
dollars,
their
not the
thing,
same.
we do our thing. We've got a proven
Thank you.
record.
We're gonna move on.
Thank
Y'all be
you.
welcome back to the next meeting.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have our consent agenda, cash balances. Anybody have that in front of them? It's like the, July 20, 2018 cash balances for the city of Bay St. Louis. We're showing a starting cash balance of $3,606,728.43. Docket to be approved is $285,887.28, and after cash balance is $3,320,841.15. We have a certification letter dated July 24th, 2018, certifying those numbers. C for payroll was on the last and needs to be removed, so C will be taken off. D and E are also taken off for non-receiving. Is that correct, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay, so we did not receive D and E. Those will be removed as well. And then we are approving F and G as far as street closures. We have street closure for Cruising the Trail, September 28th, 2018, 5 to 7, and the 29th, 9 to 7, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., Q Street and Jack Street. This is sponsored by the Hancock County Chamber of Commerce.
Mr. President, which ones you're taking off?
C, D, and E
C,
are
D,
taken
and
off.
E, okay.
Yes, sir. And then the last one, G, is approved street closures for the Lundy Grove Parade, March 4th, 2019, 5 to 8 p.m. on Booker Street to Niecase Avenue to Main Street to 2nd Street to DeMontlin Avenue to Beach Boulevard to Main Street to Q Street, sponsored by the Mystic Crew of Seahorse. Any questions on the consent agenda? Okay. Need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
The motion to approve by Mr. Knobloch. Second. Second by Mr. Zimmerman. Any further discussion from the
Yeah,
council?
discussion, the, item G is contingent on the county approval.
Yes.
Anything else? Any further discussion from the council? All right, vote the motion. Motion passes 7-0. All right, now we have the city clerk controller's report. The docket of claims, which is here, dated July 24th, 2018, docket number 18-025. Anybody have anything on page 1?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for shopping local. Looks good.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mike, on, the Bear electrical apparatus, is that for that motor, that pump that needs to be fixed over on Bay Oaks and,
That, I think that one's, a warranty.
That was under warranty.
so that one's gonna be okay?
Yes. Typically, they, what day we had the bad rain last week, they pulled it the next day, took it in, replaced the bearing, had a faulty bearing, they just replaced in it.
Oh, so it's back in already?
Yes,
Oh,
it came back the following day and back in.
Okay, cool.
All right, about page 2, anything on page 2, guys?
Barely gave you a good price on them blocks, Mr. Mayor. Good job
On what?
on those
Oh,
blocks.
Bailey?
Yes.
Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. All right, page 7. Page 8.
The only thing I have on page 8 is, that storage still with the technology company, that price. After seeing the amount we got stored, it seems
Which one is that, Josh?
astronomical.
The data
Storage
storage?
fee, data
Yeah.
storage?
Yeah.
240.
Are we gonna do proposals for IT, or we're gonna get IT
Yes.
quotes, or what we're gonna do
We
with
need,
that?
yes. Need to put it out there and see what we get.
Yeah, 'cause that's second, third month in a row, we're paying that $1,000 a month for that
That's
storage
crazy.
fee. I mean,
If we
got-
wanna, you know, in the council business, whatever,
Okay,
come up and.
Yeah, let's bring it
All
on
right,
the council.
let's put it out there.
Definitely.
yeah.
Mr. President,
Yes,
can I go back to page 7
sure.
with the senior center, the light bill there,
Mhm.
$1,395. Is that usual, that much?
Which one is that?
On page 7,
Mm-hmm.
the senior center, the light bill, Mississippi Power, $1,300.
Right,
Is that customary?
yes, sir,
It is?
from what, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Right. Like the power bill for my house.
Oh, it is?
This heat.
Turn some lights off.
Page 9. Page 10.
Mike, on that Dura spray patcher,
Mhm.
is that supplies for that?
Is that what for that?
On page 10 at the bottom, very
Last
bottom.
one?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's the
That's-
notice, I'm
yeah.
sorry.
We did get the supplies in on it, I've seen some
Did you
filling
what?
going. As far as the hot patch stuff,
Yeah.
I've seen some activity, so we must
Yes.
have got supplies.
And they got some more coming.
Good.
How
Thank
much
you,
do y'all
Mr.
buy at a time?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for
Whatever that.
patching that spot on Washington Street. Thank you, sir.
I don't know how much that tank will be. 300 maybe.
What vehicle we have to have towed from Jackson?
I think it's the old fire department, little gray SUV. I think everybody in the city, court department, everybody uses it. Ended up not being much to repair, simple repair, just, he got caught in one of them rainstorms up there, got towed in, and that's what that is.
Yeah, no problem. It's back in action though?
Yes. I think it was probably $50 part or something very minor.
Anything on the last page, page 12?
And that's really only half the bill. Somebody went and met them halfway and towed it the rest of the way for us.
All right, so the total docket claims, $285,887.28. Number 18-025 dated July 24th, 2018. The controller's report. Motion to accept.
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Reed. Second, Mr. Smith, to accept the docket claims as provided. Any further discussion from the council? Vote the motion. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have our public forum. We have a few people on the list here. We have Mr. Philip Lapp up first, 4069 Robin Street. And I think he left.
I think he was for the
I
tear
think that was
down.
the two gentlemen sitting
Yes,
there.
he was.
Mr. Elder,
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
451 Robin Street. Oh, this is from before. All right. Mr. Harold Weber, 1027 Deer Street, Deer Drive, regarding VRBO.
Thank you for the opportunity to appear here.
Thank you
I've
for coming
sent
out.
to this city clerk, Ms. Lisa, comments that I had to make, and I believe she forwarded it to each of you. What I would like to do is read it and then ask that my copy be placed on the minutes for tonight's meeting.
Sure.
I would like the city council and city attorney to consider the following as it relates to the proposed ordinance dealing with vacation rentals. Many of the new property homeowners that have or will be relocating to build and live in Bay St. Louis purchased their property and had their homes constructed with the understanding that commercial businesses would not be allowed in residential neighborhoods. The current city ordinance prohibits commercial business. However, you as city council members are considering an ordinance that takes away that protection in the residential neighborhoods. There has been much discussion and concern regarding possible individual lawsuits that could be brought against the city by those who are in favor of allowing vacation rental businesses if an ordinance attempts to limit or control what they can or can't do. Consider this. If you were to pass the proposed ordinance, the residential property values would be reduced, and the residential property owners will unite and have reason to file a class action lawsuit against the city and possibly the members of the city council. It only takes one or two property owners to find an attorney willing to take a class action on a contingency or a minimum cost basis. I realize that the past city administrations chose to look the other way over the years when vacation rentals began to pop up throughout the city. Now the current council must somehow find a way to regulate them. That is the key. Regulate what is in violation, not propose an ordinance to allow more vacation rentals. I suggest that you pass an ordinance that grandfathers the vacation rentals that are presently active and establish rules to regulate them, and then enforce the existing ordinance that prohibits commercial businesses in a residential neighborhood. And you said it was okay to incorporate this in the minutes.
Yes, sir, just submit it to Ms. Lees, please.
I also, off the record, realize that you guys are in a catch-22. That whatever way you go, you're gonna face the possibility of a lawsuit, so I just hope that you work things out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's very much. Next up, we have Ms. Virginia Mitchell, number 2 Pompano, also on VRBO.
For the record, it's Virginia Michelle.
Michelle?
Yes. Members of the City Council, thank you for the opportunity to address you regarding concerns and questions about vacation rentals. First, I would like to highlight some concerns. Number 1, the implementation of vacation rentals may create a transient community. People are less likely to invest in others' lives and follow local rules and ordinances as pertain to noise, traffic, and parking. Number 2, a party atmosphere may be created which would disrupt the lives of permanent residents who work and provide a constant stream of revenue for the city. These permanent residents are the ones who vote in local elections and support the community. 3, vacation rentals may negatively impact home values by making it less attractive to persons wanting to relocate here, and it may also drive out current residences. 4, local jobs in the service industry may be negatively impacted. 5, in Florida and California, law enforcement attributed vacation rentals to a rise of burglaries in some areas. Burglars would see on websites where rentals were located and when occupied, and use that information to break into properties. This could cause a spillover effect to regular residences close by. In our neighborhoods now, we are familiar with cars and people living around us, and we notice when unknown cars and people are there. Some of the questions that we have are: 1, how would authorities enforce ordinances? Failure to do that would cause tension between permanent residents and the vacation rental owners. 2, how would city collect taxes? How would they keep track of the occupancy? 3, how would we, as permanent residents, benefit from vacation rentals? I realize the answer will be in increased money to the city, but if the money goes into a general fund, then primarily 2 areas of Bay St. Louis will be providing the bulk of that revenue and not benefiting from it. In Grand Isle, we have drainage ditches that need to be dug out to keep standing water from the streets after a hard rain. We have debris on the sides of the road that have not been collected for months, and we have little to no enforcement of the speed limit. Can we expect more attention from city government with vacation rentals there? Finally, would local government include regulations on sex offenders and sexual predators? We do not want sexual offenders to use short-term rentals as a means to live in Bay St. Louis and keep from registering as sex offenders. According to Mississippi law, any person residing, working, attending school, or visiting 7 days or more in Mississippi who has been convicted, acquitted by reason of insanity, or adjudicated delinquent for any covered sex offense or attempted sex offense will be required to register. How would this be enforced? Would rental owners be required to do background checks on renters, or can they adopt a don't ask, don't tell attitude? What is to keep sex offenders from renting close to schools or playgrounds where they would normally be prohibited from residing? Local governments in Florida, Arizona, and Missouri have made policies regarding vacation rentals as it regards to sex offenders. I would ask you as City Council to consider these questions and concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Joey Maneri, 207 Keller, also on VRBO.
Thank you for your acknowledgement. I'm Joey Maneri. In regard to a couple of the oppositions we talked about a little bit, as a realtor, I do not see the value of property going down because you have a vacation rental next door to you. In fact, it has generated a couple of sales from me and more interest in buying property here in Bay St. Louis than it has as a detraction. I don't see where it would bring in transients. That's going to be the problem if it's properly managed. And with your ordinance, that's going to help alleviate that problem. And going over the ordinance, there's a few things I would like to address with that. It is not the one we passed at P&Z, or P&Z passed. I was not able to vote on that. But it's still got a lot of good meat in it, and it's probably a good ordinance. It just needs to be clarified. The one thing I had in there is dealing with definitions on a contact person. A person who may be the owner or an agent of the owner specifically named on the application of permit, who resides within 60 miles of the short-term rental unit, who is responsible for the day-to-day operation of short-term rental, who may be contacted 24 hours a day if there is an issue or a problem. My question is that 60 miles away, you contact this person, maybe. That's one problem. Two, and if you do, how quick can you get to the problem and resolve it? So that's, originally we had discussed, somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes, no longer than maybe 30 minutes of access to that property by the manager or the contact person who is involved on dealing with that property. Going down, we talk about permit required. We don't even mention the contact person. The contact person may be the one who is being managed by the manager, and who's the point of contact you need to get to that property on a quick time basis. The review process, I had a couple questions there, how I initiated and who's it submitted to. And we talked about file complaints involving violations. Where are these complaints going to? Who's collecting them? In dealing with that, we talked about the review includes city review. Who are we talking about? Are we talking about y'all? Are we talking about P&Z? Who are we talking about? So we lack a little specifics in here of direction of the property owner, how to go about a deal with the issues. So if we could tighten that up a little bit and provide the continuity that is needed in direction to the public and to the property owner of how to deal with this, I think would be a little bit more appropriate. It would certainly eliminate a lot of confusion of what needs to be done. Then in paragraph 3, after review process, copies of violation complaints shall be made available to the applicant. By whom?
Mr. Manera, I appreciate your time.
Okay.
3 minutes are up.
Well, I appreciate the initial informative of doing this, so I had a chance to do an input, sir, since I've been very involved with this from the beginning.
I know.
I feel a little offended, really, to tell the truth, but I thank you for your 3 minutes. Y'all do what you gotta do. Thank you, sir.
Give the same 3 minutes to everyone, sir.
Yes, sir, I understand that.
Next up, we have Mr. Cliff Ravelli, 702 3rd Street.
Good evening, gentlemen. Cliff Ravelli, 702 3rd Street, 984 South Beach Boulevard, 11-something Allen, Texas Street, and 4 or 5 other pieces of property here. I got them in most wards. Just for information, I've told you in the past how many VRBOs we had in this town. The number has gone down because they're not profitable. I sold one because they don't make money. I still have one, though. I agree with Mr. Hal Weber. We need to retain the residential qualities in the residential areas. I do not want to see, and it's not in there, that these are referred to as commercial activities. Because if you call them commercial activities, then we somehow will be forced to be ADA compliant. And we're a residential rental, just like somebody who rents more than 7 days or more than 30 days. It's a residential rental. However, we do have to collect sales tax because, according to the law, if you rent for less than 30 days, you got to collect sales tax. Many of the homes in my area on 3rd Street and out in Shoreline Park area are second homes. They're not full-time residents. On South Nassau Street, we had one, and Mr. Michael Onis probably won't be with us much longer, so there'll be 0 full-time residents. Those second homes tend to have big gatherings on the weekend. And they put their trash out on Sunday night, and the trash man shows up, so
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Mr. Charles Shenick. It's like 821 Deer Drive. Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. You wanna give me a shoulder? There we go. All right, that works.
Gary Yarbrough, I'm here on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Bob and Mary Ellen Warner. I've sent some correspondence to you before. We think Mr. and Ms. Warner are a VRBO rental property owners in here in the city. They've spent a lot of money developing that, and we think what we have here is something that's already allowed under the ordinance, and we should be continue to be allowed. This is something that is central to what has been the rebirth of the city. With it, you get increased property values by the increase of the ad valorem tax to the city. You also get the increase in weekend visitors. If you look at the streets of Basin Lewis on weekends, a lot of Louisiana residents. I think that would be hurting the city itself if you attempted to restrict what is now a property right and a dominion of my clients and use that as we have here. I understand there may be some. I received a copy of the ordinance as proposed last night. I understand the city may or may not be taking action of that. We do have some concerns with just my clients, I know one of the concerns is paying sales tax. To be clear, my clients pay their sales tax, and Airbnb, I think, has started enforcing that on their own now. And so I think one of the things that you can do, irrespective of anything else, is say you can register them. And my clients have no opposition to that. And that way, with the registration, you can properly vet who is and who is not paying their taxes and report to the Department of Revenue for that. Otherwise, as concerns the ordinance, mainly this concerns about some of the potential violations versus complaints issues. We see some issues in here about having prior complaints as far as a permit. Again, this is a right my clients have now. So as far as getting a new permit, it seems like Section C9 is intended to be a grandfather clause. So as long as that's intended to be a registration of prior people, that may not be a problem. But we do have some, as far as being a permit requirement, that is something that is worrisome with us. Related to that, it's a bit ambiguous to me. What are the requirements for getting a permit, even if there was one allowed? Again, we think this is an obviation of a right we already have. But when it says you can seek additional information, it is unclear to us what that type of additional information may be. Otherwise, I think as far as anything as far as the terminating or a use in the future with any, it says violation of ordinance. We think the Memphis Light, Gas, Water versus Craft would require due process in advance of any restriction of a property right, including any restriction of the right my clients have now to use that as a rental property. So all that's to say is we hope that we can continue to use the property as we are doing under the present ordinance. And, you know, we do think this is a benefit to the city. We think it has helped what is a special small town regrowth. So I hear my chime. Thank you.
Next up, we have our vacation rental. Council discussion.
So, Mr. Avalé is correct. We have 156 units on VRBO, 161 units on Airbnb. How much money do we make? How much money do we stand to make? Anybody want to venture to guess? 100,000, 200, less than 100,000, less than 50, more than 25? Yeah, somewhere in that range. Yeah, you're talking, so, again, I'm a numbers guy. Got an average of 158 units. Only 75% of those, rough guess, are in Bay St. Louis. Jordan River Shores, they're north, they're Waveland, they're Pass, or the Airbnb. 118 units. I was just throwing a number out there. 365 days, you got 43,252 days. At 50% occupancy is 21,000 days. Average price around 130, $2,811,000. 7% of that's 196,000, and 18% of that's 35,000. That the city would stand to make if you had 50% occupancy of every unit that was allowed in the city of Bay St. Louis. So, you know, you're not talking a windfall in profits. I think we're talking about property rights. I think when I buy a house where I live, I don't want to party next to my house every day. That's my right. It's not a right to someone to say, well, I'm gonna have a party next to your house every day. Well, it's my right to have peace and quiet every day because I bought in a single family residential neighborhood. That's the frustrating part. And I understand people buy them and yeah, you're right. What about the people's rights that live there, right? And it's not everybody's property. You're almost to a point of overlay district, right? How do you, I mean, probably downtown Bay St. Louis, you probably have a different clientele than you do out in the waterfront districts, possibly. So do you have different rules or regulations? I don't know what the answer is. But the people that live there full-time have the same amount of rights to have peaceful harmony and live in their property without fear of someone new showing up every day next door to their house. That's fact of life, is how I feel. Until someone can prove differently, we all have rights. We all gonna sue somebody because you're taking my rights away. Get so freaking tired of somebody suing somebody because you don't agree. That's crazy. I have a right to go to my house every day and not worry about, well, who's living next door to me today or tomorrow? Can I leave my lawnmower outside? What am I worried about my grandkids? But there's a right for property owners, and I have just as much right as someone else that buys a piece of property and wants to rent it out every day to someone new. I have that same right, but we forget about that. We do need an ordinance. We do need to figure out how to balance it out for everybody's, again, overlay district. I don't know how it works. I struggle with that, trying to figure out how to balance. Again, I think downtown it's a different clientele than you do out on the water, I think. Just from days that passed of how I used to act. So there's a balance on that. We do need to adopt an ordinance. We need to move forward with it. Numerous people, Mr. Weber, Ms. Watson, Mr. Ravalé, the Warners, Ms. Robards, Menares. I mean, everybody has worked on this tirelessly. Got all y'all's emails and stuff and reading them last night trying to, you know, what's the balance, right? You bought property in good faith, you deserve to be able to use it and make money off of it and provide a service to the city of Bay St. Louis. The Webers deserve to go to their house every day and not worry about somebody new living next door to them. They deserve the same rights. So how do you balance that from a governmental standpoint? Government's just a bunch of dang gum rules. But how do you make it no nonsense and work or balance for everyone? And that's the trick. And I'm not sure you'll make everybody happy when you do it. I'm gonna move forward and we'll make a motion and we'll adopt an ordinance and line up to sue us. but we're gonna move forward and try to make sense out of it as much as we can. We can tweak it going along. Density, we're talking about 300 feet density. That was a big deal over the meetings we had. You know, how do you do it? How many, you know, some cities limit, okay, there'll only be 50 permits, period. So when you do that, are you limiting people's property rights? I don't know. Hadn't been to courts yet. Again, it's a balance, and I don't know what the right answer is. We do need an ordinance. We do need people to register. We do need to understand what's going on in our neighborhoods. But everyone has a right, and the right to go home every day and be safe and secure in your home, knowing that your next door neighbor is somebody's been living there for a year, 6 months. I got a rental next to me. I got a rental across the street. Every week there's not a new person there. Every year or so there's a new person. I got to understand if I can trust my lawnmower outside or not. But it's not every weekend I got somebody new living next door to me. And that's what we got to balance out.
I agree, Mr. Seal, with what you said, and it's just a hard balance, you know. You want to give them the right, but you want to protect the rights of the homeowners and property owners that live there day in and day out also. So it's a struggle.
If I may, you know, you hear a lot of times about how this has gone through 3 different lawyers and it's been years. Well, a lot of the reason for that is the fact that you're kind of entering into new water here. There's only one city in the state that I know of that has any sort of regulations. I'm not saying there are not others out there, because that I don't know. I have called around to different city attorneys where I thought that these would be an issue, and they don't have them. So I will tell you this, that I'm not gonna sit here today and tell you that if you pass an ordinance, you're not gonna get sued, because I think that would be an inaccurate statement. You have a lot of property rights issues that come up. You have a lot of whether or not this is more of a zoning issue than something that should be regulated by ordinance. So it's something that I definitely think each of you need to kind of think long and hard about, because anything you put on paper or any sort of ordinance you pass, you definitely could be kind of the poster child for VRBO, because, you know, a lot of people do invest in these things and make a lot of money, so they're just kind of waiting for an opportunity to take this thing further in the court systems. And I've researched nationwide, and I can't give you a black and white answer as to what exactly people will say. I do know I've read numerous cases, and it seemed to be slanted more in this direction, saying that they're not viewing, the courts don't seem to be viewing these homes, these VRBO type homes, as commercial properties. Courts are looking at them saying that it's still being used for their residential zoning purposes, that people are coming in for the weekend, and it's still a residential use, not a commercial use. So, you know, that's what I've read, more cases that are leaning that way than saying they are commercial. But again, there's nothing, all this is so new, so it kind of comes down to whether or not you want to be a pioneer, so to speak, in the VRBO world.
I have an idea, and I guess being on the Planning and Zoning Commission for as long as I have been, I think that the current ordinance is probably okay to pass. However, I have some reservations in Ward 6. I would recommend allowing the ordinance to go in through the whole city, you know, encompassing Ward 6. However, not allow any new vacation rental in Ward 6, but let's form some type of commission and create a VRBO zone. So Ward 6 is unique because it hasn't been developed yet, and it's an untested market. But it is going to be our fastest growing market in the coming years. Everybody's going to want to be on the water, but not everybody in here wants a vacation rental by their house. And once this is passed, you might have a situation where investors come in, and rightfully so, I probably would even think about it myself, buy a huge tract of land and use the ordinance against us and say, hey, I want 50-foot lots, and put 50 houses on these lots right on a thing and get variances. But if we create a VRBO zone within Ward 6 and say, hey, this is where we want these things that are on undeveloped waterfront properties, and not mix them all in the same areas, then that might be your solution. And since it's unpine, you're right, it hasn't been pine, we are breaking new ground. And all the research that I did is similar to what yours is coming up with, because since we rezoned after Hurricane Katrina, this wasn't even an issue. But now they've kind of snuck around this, they're all nested in wards 2 and 3 very heavily. But those places like it like that, and there's not a whole lot of developable land. But Ward 6, that's gonna be your pearl later on down the line. And I would, like some suggestions that I would have is, if I was gonna build a VRBO or create a zone, make them on 100-foot lots, so that they're not all clustered together. It gives people space in between them. Yeah, parking, boat rental, it doesn't take up the boat space in the water. But I think I would carve out a VRBO zone in Ward 6 to protect the current residents and allow future growth.
Thank you.
My suggestion would be, so that needs to go to zoning and make it a zoning issue, not an ordinance issue.
Right.
Well, I know, that,
Yeah.
I'm saying you
Yeah,
have to set a commission up
Yeah, for sure.
and rezone it, and then you'd have to put it out and invite everybody in and give their input to where you want this zone to be. So it could be a whole bunch of little smaller places all around Ward 6. There's a lot of water out there, and there's a lot of non-water places out there.
I mean, I think the problem we have, one of the problems we have, obviously, is that we have both sides, some want high regulation and some don't. I agree 100% with all the statements regarding to what's going on nationally, legal-wise. I mean, this is just a hot-button issue all over the country as far as adjudication goes. And at this point in time, you know, my personal feelings are, I don't want to open the city up to any more adjudication than we should be opened up to, especially in something that's just coming about, which would put us on the forefront of spending our money to try to defend whatever we do one way or the other. That being said, you know, restrictions on land are going to cause problems. Not having any restrictions on it and letting it run wild would cause problems as well. Under what I've seen nationwide and what I've seen issues that have been addressed or have been brought forward anyway, we're not going to be able to address everyone's issue everywhere. Otherwise, we're going to be open both sides to lawsuits. You know, from those who feel it's too restrictive to those who feel that it's not restrictive enough, binding on people. The only thing that I would, at this point in time, really be in favor of would be passing an ordinance, if we had to pass an ordinance, that requires all existing VRBOs and anyone who's entering into the VRBO business to register with the city and follow current state laws, which require paying taxes for the activities, and obviously requiring, as any landowner would, to follow current city laws, building codes, building ordinances, you know, police, law enforcement. If someone's having a large party and it's getting out of hand, that's a police issue. It's not something that we as a city council can go out and regulate someone's partying on a weekend, and whether that's a legitimate, you know, need or not in the community. My thoughts are on it, if we do anything much more than requiring registration through our city, and basically if you meet the code guidelines under our current code, you know, you're registered and we know where they are, what exists. Other than that, I feel like we're sending our city into turmoil as far as legalities go, and we're looking at spending a bunch of money that we don't have to defend something that we shouldn't be on the forefront of. I mean, larger cities can take that burden and brunt of adjudicating this stuff through the courts. Bay St. Louis is not the city that needs to be leading that charge.
Well, yeah, and I think everybody's made good points. Everybody, you know, come up and all. One of the things, can it be something to where we include in there the ones that's there now is the ones that we cap it at that?
I
If
think
they
that-
legal. And when we say legal, we talk about through the building department and also paying their taxes. And then anything new from here on out would have to go to P&Z and create through them. and then, you know, for the.
I mean, I think
mean, this
that's-
is just ideas,
That's the
you know,
idea, is
something that's been
anything that's
talked
there now
about.
would register as a VRBO now. You know, if we want to require that the code enforcement go out and do an inspection of it to make sure that they have proper safety, you know, concerns addressed, that's fine. Per the code, you know, whether it's fire, alarms or, you know, extinguishers or whatever is required per the code now in a residence, then that's fine. I don't know that capping it in any way, shape, or form could be, that's something that would be a huge, you know, that's one of the big problems, is
Yeah, I
anywhere
think-
that's capped.
I think if you cap it or say that
you're saying-
everybody now is grandfathered in, but nobody in the future, you're gonna run the exact same problems as if you're trying to pass an ordinance that's restricting these things, because you get back into a property issue and a property rights. It's like, well, I bought, you know, number 1 X Street and I have a VRBO, but then somebody buys number 2 X Street, and then you tell them they can't, even though courts are looking at it as still a residential property and it's still under the same planning and zoning, the same zone. So that's where your issue comes in. So if you try to restrict it, you're gonna have the exact same legal issues.
So how did Ocean Springs cap it at 50?
Well, because Ocean Springs is a little bit of a different situation in the fact that they actually don't have 50 registered. They're just hitting that mark or about to hit that mark. So we can't really look to Ocean Springs to see what's gonna happen, because thus far, they haven't had to deny
They
anybody.
haven't had to deny anything, so they haven't had
And I've talked to
that-
their
that
attorney
issue
in
arise
depth
yet.
about this. Yeah.
I think it's coming.
So how do they regulate them to only commercial areas? The
I don't know-
ordinance is-
I don't
their
know
ordinance is
how-
only commercial areas, so,
Well, I don't know how, I've never gone and read
I got it,
their,
I'll send it to you.
well, yeah, but then I'd have to go read their planning and zoning and to see, and like I said, I mean,
It's not
just
by right.
because they have just because they have this enforced doesn't mean
Right.
that
It's not
it's
Judy.
legally valid. It just might be that nobody has tested it yet.
It's adopted 2014.
You know, that
And
would
still,
go
the
back.
attorney told me himself, he said, we're just getting to the point that we've never had, he told me they've never had to deny something
Right.
except for one person. And it was easy to deny her because she was operating illegally before, and they had a clause in there that allowed that to be denied. So, I mean, it's never been tested there. So I think they're a bad example for us to look at.
You know, and that goes back to if we created some type of VRBO zone, and if it was the intention of investors or a property owner to put in a VRBO, you have to have bigger lot sizes. To let, you know, the way our current codes operate, you can get a 50-foot lot and build a house on. I think that's fine for just a regular person, or a regular family that's living there. But if you allow this and then you get large tracts, I think this needs to, you know, be addressed and create a zone so that you have restrictions on the VRBO, so everybody has a fair playing field, both the current property owners as well as future property owners and investors. But you have to, you know, I would do that now, put maybe a temporary moratorium on new VRBO, like in Ward 6, to give time for the planning and zoning, public input, and say, hey, this is what we want in our area. I think that's, I would put that in there. Or some type of, you know, form, you know, maybe give us, we set a time frame, 180 days, to come up with new zoning changes, because we have to advertise zoning changes, and
I
it's
think it's
something.
gonna, yeah. It's gonna be a big process to
Oh, yeah,
to do
yeah,
this.
so
It
I
needs
mean,
to
we
be
would
well
have to,
thought out.
but if we get just a temporary moratorium on any new VRBO, because they have a good bit in Ward 6 now, and you can't stop them from doing it, but you do want to identify them, and you do want to identify economic zones that you could call an economic zone, and make the lots bigger, or require them to put on bigger lots, so that you don't have these density issues or loud, you know, parking issues and things of that nature.
And that's, you know, that's your call. I will just say at this time, I do not recommend you guys restricting.
So City of New Orleans has an outright ban on short-term rentals in the French Quarter. So people own private property in French Quarter. So aren't their property rights being infringed upon?
Again, I'm not gonna argue
No,
with
I'm
you
just
about
saying that-
this. I'm just gonna
yeah.
tell you, I've done a lot of research, and I don't know where they are. I haven't gone and spent hours to go look to see who all sued the City of New Orleans
Right.
to figure out, you know, what's going on. I know this has all taken place with them, in the last year? So
Yeah,
if
17.
anything's going on, then it's
Right.
probably, I doubt
real.
very seriously if their court system moves that fast. So, and I don't know, I mean, and then I don't know, or did they do that through their zoning, or did they do this through some sort of ordinance like we're trying to do?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would be happy to look into that, but at this point, I have
Temporary
not.
permits.
Josh, what do you think about having a VRBO zone or some type of economic area that you allow that type of rentals?
All right, I think it would be good, but I think, like you said, go through zoning, not the ordinance process to do it.
No, not an
Go
ordinance.
back and
I do
change,
mean going
yeah.
through zoning,
Zoning,
have the area
change it.
reclassified, rezoned.
Because that, like, as Doug was saying earlier, it's a different district, because people come down, they bring a boat and a jet ski, they don't bring that to Main Street to rent a
No.
vacation rental. But there they got boats, jet skis, whatever, to go on the water for the weekend, and their buddy might bring another boat, so you got 2 boat trailers there to park somewhere if you're on a 50-foot lot. You have no way to get stuff off the road just about, so that would be a place to look at, making sure they had extra lot or something for parking and things like that. So I definitely think it would be.
And I do believe, just from what I have seen on it, zoning changes are a lot more acceptable as far as restricting certain areas or not restricting certain areas, as opposed to just a blanket ordinance restricting or not restricting property rights.
Yeah.
If you zone something a certain, way like we have now with C1 district or an R1 district, R3 or whatever, then that gives the government the right to control the use of that property through that zone. But that is, again, a very long process now. One of the things I do agree is that the entire city needs to be looked at and studied for rezoning in all districts.
Yeah.
Actually, Ward 1 is, they still have huge tracts of land that haven't been redeveloped. And that would go possibly good with Doug's ward, to have VRBO zones, because they are on the beaches.
Got 2 on Boardman.
Hmm?
Got 2 on Boardman. $115 a night. So, you read the ordinance we have in front of us, okay? We're setting guidelines to have these businesses permitted in the city of Bay St. Louis, requiring them to have a tax ID number and register with the city of Bay St. Louis to ensure they're compliant. That's what the ordinance is saying. If you read it, and I'm guessing a lawyer, you can say, well, you're infringing on my rights, you're infringing my rights. Lays out a permit process, lays out a fee. If you're a contractor, you pay a fee to get a permit in the city of Bay St. Louis, like any other person. As far as restrictions, I want you to get a permit. I want you to pay a fee in order for us to understand what you're gonna be doing. Parking is in accordance with the Article 8, which is our zoning ordinance. Property nuisance, that talks about police protection, premises, the garbage. That is a section 8238, the city ordinance is Bay St. Louis now. So it's nothing new we're imposing. I pick my neighbor's trash can up because it freaking aggravates me when he leaves them out. I'm just frustrating, right? Got a pretty nice neighborhood and they're gonna leave a trash can out, so I'll pick it up. It's frustrating, right?
I believe it is.
Not that everybody else don't do it as well, but it's frustrating.
Well, and you have plenty that
So,
don't use trash cans
yeah,
either.
So, again, I don't know where it's a whole lot of taking away property rights if we adopt this ordinance. We can discuss it for 3 more years, because that's how we get here, right? We get here and it's like, no, we can't do that. No, we'll get sued. So it's like, yeah, 3 more years, right? And all you new councilmen say, well, I can't believe it took y'all 3 years to do this. Well, heck, we're right back where we were. Let's hold up. Not gonna please everybody. That's where we at. So, any more discussion? Make a motion to adopt an ordinance to authorize short-term rentals, dwellings in residential, commercial, waterfront districts, as presented. Do we have an ordinance number? Okay, it's my motion.
All right, motion, Mr. Sue.
Second?
And your motion is to adopt the ordinance as written currently.
Yes, sir.
Second, Mr. Smith. Any further discussion from the council?
I have a discussion. Doug, would you be willing to amend your motion just a little bit so that we could just limit Ward 6 for now, temporarily, until we could put together a zoning commission or whatever, just so we could start that process immediately?
Then I'm infringing on somebody's property rights. Honestly. I mean, we can adopt this and next meeting, we can amend it, right? Find something we need to work on. But we're not gonna get forward. Line them up, let's go.
Okay, thanks.
Any further discussion from the council?
My only discussion is, I guess this be voting against legal advice.
I think I've said what I needed to say.
Okay. I want this as bad as anybody else, but I'm not gonna vote against legal advice, I'm sorry. So, go ahead.
All right, any further discussion from the council? Okay, motion, Mr. Seal, second by Mr. Smith. Vote the motion. Motion is voted, what is that, 5-2? Mr. Hoffman and Mr. DeSalvo dissenting. All right, so the VRBO has been adopted as written.
We advertised in the paper for 30 days before it can go into effect because it was not a unanimous vote.
Yes. Amended ordinance for the 2018 building codes. This is the discussion on this building code?
No. Was there anything we were leaving out? Was there something about some sprinklers or something?
Yep.
Residential sprinkler systems?
Yes, we are.
Is that just coming out of our ordinance, or that's coming out of the whole international ordinance?
It's, you adopt a code or regulation from the IBC. In totality, there's numerous sections or regulations in there that we do not adopt, or in the past have not adopted. There's standard sections you do adopt. It's an interesting discussion around requiring sprinkler systems in housing. That was last year they talked about it, year before they talked about it. We talked about it having an elevated structures, anything above 20 feet, I don't know what it was. Last year we amended the arc fault requirement, or not say last year, 2 years, 3 years ago, whenever we adopted it, we changed the arc fault requirement. That was in the code. So these codes are general guidelines of what you are to follow. You know, for the sake of safety, sprinkler systems in homes, there's, 50-50 for, 50-50 against. I'd really like to explore that. We can go back and amend this ordinance and adopt that section in the future if we decide that it's a requirement, or we'd like to do it. You get costs from $3,500 to $5,000 to put a sprinkler system in. And I've actually talking with guys sitting around a coffee pot today, some guy said, well, what if the sprinkler system goes off and runs the inside of your house? And is the insurance gonna pay for it, right? Was it flood, wind, or water, right? Systems are dry pipe. One zone will go off. Their heat bulb, basically the bulb melts, water goes into the affected area. From a life safety, it's important. It's not a requirement to adopt it, and I think going forward, I think as prices become more reasonable and codes become more stringent, I think it could be a requirement that they're done. And I'd like to do more research on how many, if and how many other cities in the United States have adopted the sprinkler system requirement in residential homes.
So this sprinkler system is not in this one, is it?
No, it's not.
No, it's been
excluded.
Right.
And it's an interesting discussion.
And I think we excluded it the last time we did it, because of the cost factor.
They could always build above code, just can't build below minimum code, so anybody can put it in their house when they want to.
Right.
Yeah.
I did ask, and I did not follow up on it. Part of the motion will be to validate the ICC multiplier factor, if it's changed or not. That's how we calculate the building codes, building permits. If the multiplier factor has changed, we need to be sure Encode is updated to ensure we're charging the correct amount for permits. So section 3.6.1, just please write down, just Tilly to verify that the ICC multiplier, if it has changed or if it still remains the same. I've looked over from the past codes we've adopted, there's nothing different that I've seen in there. Make a motion to go ahead and adopt, if we have an ordinance number.
No, but the other one should have been 629-07-2018, so this one should be 630-07-2018, and I will clarify both of those
Okay.
tomorrow.
Vote. Yes, I'm gonna make a motion.
You made a motion?
I mean, I can make a motion to adopt an ordinance, 630-07-2018, ordinance governing authority of the city of Bay St. Louis, amending the ordinance entitled, an ordinance adopting various building related codes and standards and appendix relating to controlling design, construction, quality materials, erection, installation, alteration, repair, location, relocation, replacement, addition to, use or maintenance of buildings and structures, providing for the insurance of permits, collection of fees thereof, therefore, providing for and relating to inspections, activities, and enforcement of building provisions and providing various codes for related purposes as therefore amended to adopt the 2012 revision to the Family of International Building Codes for the city of Bay St. Louis.
Glad to have
Second.
you nominee. Motion, Mr. Seal.
Second.
Second, Mr. DeSalvo. Any further discussion from the council? Vote the motion. Motion passes 7-0. Next up, we have the golf cart ordinance regarding fees. We already have the one ordinance in place on the registration. We have a written ordinance on that in front of us. Yeah, I saw it by email, I just wondered if you want to. So basically, we're looking at $50 fee paid once a year with a $50 renewal each year. And we're gonna limit that to the, once a year deal, or are we gonna do it based on when you acquire the permit?
I think it's once a year, September 30th.
Once a year, September
September
30th deadline is what was proposed. I mean.
And we can get a
Right.
different color sticker every year.
Mm-hmm.
That way we can know who's not compliant.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Heather, was there anything else in there we need to discuss? It's just the $50 re-registration and then the compliance.
$100 fine or double the fee if you found non-compliant.
Correct.
I think we had discussed a separate sticker on the one every year because the number's gonna be on there to identify the cart. So you have to make sure the numbers are matched every year if you don't just do a replacement sticker like a regular car tag with a year on it possibly. That was the only concern.
Yeah, I would just want to make it easy to identify.
Okay.
Right.
Red this year, blue next year, that way you pull up somebody that's got the wrong color, you're like,
All right.
you go get it or not, you get
Yeah.
fined. I mean, that was my process.
Oh, yeah.
but
Mhm.
Each, having to figure out what's what.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? All right. We have a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Seal to adopt the golf cart ordinance, declaring a $50 registration fee to be paid by September 30th, correct? And thereafter, every year, $50 registration fee to be paid by September 30th that year, with a double the fine if you do not have a permit and are located in Bay St. Louis or resident of Bay St. Louis, of what, $100?
Yes.
Any, second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Smith. Any further discussion from the council? Vote the motion. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Lisa. All right. Mr. Janich, can we get the city engineer report, please?
Good evening. We have some updates on several projects. First off, we have received authorization to close out the Old Spanish Trail project. We have a closeout package that we've been coordinating with MDOT. What I gave you tonight is the final pay app to the contractor. We did have to verify some quantities, which is why it was not on the docket from last week, but we are recommending payment for that. I don't know if that's something we can do outside of the docket, and then, or if we need to add that to the docket for the August meeting.
The agenda.
But we are recommending the final payment to the contractor.
We'll have to ask Ms. Smith in a moment.
Okay, we'll come back to that one.
Yeah,
We'll move
okay.
on. The next item, Public Works, the seminary sinkhole project is underway. We lost pretty much all last week because of the rain. So the contractor is back on site this week and trying to get everything tied in. With any luck, we ought to be finished by the end of this week and have that area back to normal. So we'll keep working with him daily as we can. as
Mr.
best we
Nietzsche,
can.
were we able to save any of those culverts?
Yes, sir, there were.
Quite a few of them over
There were 6 sections of the 24-inch pipe that we were able to save, so those will be
120
reused. Yes, sir.
Okay, good deal. Thank you, sir.
The next item, we've been looking at some citywide sewer issues. We've had this on the agenda or on our report for several weeks. DEQ does have a grant loan program for SRF for sewer improvements. We've looked at one line, basically the 10-inch sewer line over from Sunset, runs down through Esplanade and Highland over to the lift station behind Dunbar Village. We see a lot of inundation in that section. We see a lot of the manholes that are overflowing. So that would be a candidate for some repairs through that program. We've also talked to Public Works about some other potential sewer projects that would need to be enhanced, some manholes on Felicity Street to be raised to get them out of the flood area. And then there's some lift station upgrades as well. So again, we keep tracking those and keep those on our report. If there's any other questions, we can follow up with that. The Dunbar Avenue settlement repair, spoke to the mayor and Public Works last week about this. Looks like, I think the best route is to go ahead and remove that segment that has settled. We can do that in-house, demo that asphalt, and then we can get a better idea if we have a void underneath that area. It does look like it's getting worse. I don't know if it was a lot of the rain last week, but it does look like there's some more settlement in that area. So if we could remove that and get an idea of how the subbase is working out, and then prepare some repair recommendations based off of that. So we're working with Public Works on that as well. The next item we do need approval on, this is we request authorization for the mayor to execute the contract and notice to proceed as required by MDOT for the Carroll Avenue Safe Routes project. This is a MDOT contract, their standard contract for construction, so we're asking for authorization to execute that and the notice to proceed. We'll have if that's approved tonight, we'll have a pre-construction conference with the contractor this week, and then we'll schedule the work to begin based on his schedule. So we are asking for that approval tonight.
Motion?
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Seals, second by Mr. Reed. Any discussion from the council?
Does it matter if the mayor's name's wrong?
They did revise that, but it was
Temple.
submitted that way originally from MDOT.
Has been revised.
It has been revised.
Technical things.
All right, any further discussion? All right, vote the motion. Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you. We'll get that project underway as soon as possible. The next item, the lighting modifications, that project's underway. They've removed all the poles, the existing light poles that are going to be relocated to the outside of the right-of-way. The contractor will start their directional drilling probably next week, and then have to wait on the light poles to come in a few weeks down the road. But that's setting up pretty well. They're actually ahead of schedule on that project by 3 or 4 days, so they're doing a really good job with that project.
Yeah.
The next item, we do need authorization for this. As part of that MDOT the lighting project or the signalization project through MDOT, there's one water line that we have to reroute or divert at Bushlog on the south side of Bushlog Street, near the Quick Stop or the Pit Stop.
Right.
That water line, they're going to put in new signals. They're going to take down the old traffic signals and put in new arm-mounted signals. So we have to relocate that water line. This is a project that MDOT's fully funding, same thing as a lighting modification. So we did receive quotes. We received one quote from Rocky's Plumbing and another quote from DNA Underground. Those are in our package. So we are recommending going with the quote from Rocky's Plumbing. This authorization should be contingent upon MDOT approval because we have to turn all this information into them, let them give us the formal approval before we can actually sign the contract. So
So you need a motion to accept.
I'd like to get a motion to
Recommendation
accept
to
the
accept Rocky's
recommendation
Plumbing, huh?
and authorize the mayor to execute the contract and issue the notice to proceed contingent upon MDOT approval to Rocky's Plumbing.
I'll make that motion.
Get all that done.
Motion by Mr. DeSalvo,
Second?
second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion from the council?
There was a big difference in price there.
Yes.
There was, and we spoke with Rocky. He understands what we need to do. It's about
Okay.
4 hours worth of work, so he feels like he can handle it.
He's the one doing the seminary project.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right, good. He's local too, so.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Anything else? Vote to motion. Motion passed 7-0.
All right, thank you. We'll coordinate all the paperwork for that. The next item, the only grants that are really out there at this time, that we've discussed in the past is a downtown planning grant for a connection from downtown to the depot area. This is the same one we talked about before when we were looking at Esplanade and Highland. We backed those costs out of this. We anticipate the cost of that total grant would be $10,000. This to be funded through Gulf Region Planning Commission. They have planning grants available. So the city's match on that would be 20%, so it'd be a $2,000 match. This would allow CSX coordination to discuss what type of funding they may have for some of these improvements. Also identify property owners in that area, and identify additional funding sources that might be able to help with some of the improvements for a connection between downtown and the depot area.
And what kind of connections, explain what kind of connections that we're looking at.
The concept is some type of a walking path, sidewalk, multi-use path, however we could phrase it, to connect from downtown to the depot, to try to get some walking connection between those two areas. Right now, most of the coordination would be with CSX, because ideally it would be within their right of way. I know that'd be a difficult task, so there'd be a lot of discussion with CSX on, can we utilize that right of way? What can we utilize it for? Things like that. There was some talk about making it a golf cart path through there too. I think now that the golf carts are legal on the streets, maybe that would be better suited for that connection, be on the roadway instead of on a walkway. So those are the kind of things that we look at from the planning standpoint between those two areas.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just, connectivity, there's sidewalks basically connecting downtown to the depot. We've tried to spur, how do we connect them, right? And I just, functionally, how the heck do you do that, right? And that's outside the box, right? There's sidewalks to lead you from downtown, whatever route you want to take to the depot, but how do you get people to migrate to, the depot is really always the big thing. We spend a ton of money down there to make it nice, but it's just hard to get people down there.
My thought was to try to get something to run alongside the tracks pretty much, because that's a straight shot from
It's a
Beach
straight
Road
shot.
to the depot. And you can get people to filter through there, put some lights on the sidewalk at night and everything, because like you say, it's sidewalks and all, but even when you're from here most of your life, it gets, a few blocks to get there, it can be confusing sometimes.
I think there's some opportunities coming with the road back down,
Yeah, if we can get
in the depot area.
We should be able to tie it into the back of the parking
There's some
garage too.
opportunities coming.
Right,
Yeah,
that's right.
come out the back of the parking garage, go left or right.
And the nice thing is, we could park at the depot and walk straight to downtown, so that would alleviate parking problems.
Yeah, because we're gonna lose parking lots.
That's right.
So, it just, we do need some type of connection, and if we can ever get some anchor businesses back there.
We've got two coming.
I think we have some opportunities coming there and halfway
So that,
between the two right now.
And this would allow to look at some grant sources for economic development in the depot area, because it's connected to, the planning grant. So any kind of development that may create 5 to 10 jobs, I think is a requirement, then that might be eligible for some additional infrastructure improvements, things like that maybe that developer can take advantage of.
Right.
So that will come out of this planning grant.
so what do you need from us?
Authorization and resolution committing to the $2,000 match. I'll work with the mayor's office on the request. It's a letter request that goes to Gulf Region Planning Commission, and then they'll review it and then either approve it or deny it.
So need to make a motion
Yes, sir.
authorizing you to enter an agreement with Gulf Regional Planning.
Just to make a motion for us to coordinate with the mayor's office for the request for the connection planning grant.
Make that motion with the money coming out the reserve fund.
I second it.
All right. Motion, Mr. Seal, seconded by Mr. Reed. Any further discussion from the council? Vote to motion. Motion passed 7-0.
Okay, thank you for that. The final
Thank you,
item,
guys.
we have been looking at several drainage issues throughout the city, and we've broken those down in our package, in our report by ward. We met with the mayor's office and Public Works last week and identified some of these that we felt like we could actually handle and repair in-house, and some of them that would actually need to be contracted out. So the last 2 pages of our report basically goes through each ward. And we put a note out besides the ones that we felt like would need to be contracted out and ones that would need to be handled in-house. We are developing cost estimates for all these so that within the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to pinpoint and hopefully come up with a total dollar amount for some of these repairs. We'll have to add some contingencies to that because obviously no field work's been completed at this time, so some of this will just be estimations for what's needed. We did look at the old study that was done for 5 and 6. Some of those actually have already been incorporated, and in our review, some of those have been addressed in the field, some of those items, and then 1 or 2 of those items actually fell under MDOT's within their right-of-way for 603 and Highway 90. So I did not include those in this. It would be something we would coordinate with MDOT to try to get them to make the improvements and, more importantly, cover the cost of those. So that's the breakdown that we have now, and we're working, like I said, we're working through some cost estimates for all these repairs citywide.
Ms. Kenichi, with St. John Street, you got it in Ward 2. It actually, Ward 2 and Ward 3 actually splits the street.
Splits
so, are you gonna?
It'd be
you're
both
not
sides
just gonna
of the
do
road.
one side, right? You're gonna do both sides, am I? So I think we need to put.
I'll move that to Ward 3 also, to be sure it's covered. So the main thing is just take a look at these, and if y'all have any questions, we'll try to develop a little more detail. Most of these are just placeholders that we've seen riding throughout the city and talking to the council, each councilman, about what's going on and what might need to be addressed. So this will probably grow as we start putting in the cost estimates and some general descriptions for each item.
Could, you gave me a cost estimate Avenue B to fix that one side.
Yes.
Would it be possible to get a cost estimate for that and some guardrails on both sides possibly, and
For B?
okay, for Avenue B? Yeah, because I've looked at it with the supervisors, just every time I look at it, it's just getting more scary right there. I mean, there's no side.
Some sheet pilings down also, if that's the route we go on.
Yeah, that's what that first cost estimate was, some sheet pilings on that north side to try to
Right.
retain what's left there to hold that road up, and then some guardrails would be good, because it's a
And I
dangerous
think
spot.
The guardrail should be in a couple of weeks for, Central.
Okay, good.
We need to see just how we're gonna mount it though.
If you can get that, and then we'll see about maybe taking out a road and bridge or something to finish that, 'cause that's a
Okay.
bad spot, somebody goes off for there.
We did finish our topo of the road on Skyline in the curve. We've got some rough estimates. It's about 460 feet through there that would need to be raised. Average about 6 to 7 inches would tie into, where the road comes in on each side of it.
Okay.
That actually is about 285 tons of asphalt needed in that stretch. The
Okay.
county recently has new bids. They were I think they were $79.95 per ton, so that's roughly $22,800 worth of asphalt for that stretch.
Okay.
I would recommend guardrails in that area as well, just because of how much it drops off close to the bayou. It'd be about 120 feet of guardrails on the east side of Skyline.
Okay.
I've estimated that to be about $12,000 worth of guardrail.
Jason, is that water side of that in stable condition?
We have not inspected it from the stability standpoint. It stays inundated most of the time, so it's kind of hard to see. There's a lot of riprap and a lot of concrete that's been added to it. I didn't see any signs of the road cracking or caving in along that edge. It definitely does need to be raised, I think, just to keep it from flooding.
Would we have to get a permit to put riprap back in there? We could only use pure solid concrete. We couldn't put any asphalt riprap in there, could we? Concrete?
Yeah, usually that's what DMR is gonna require.
Ideally, sheet piling that whole curve, but that's just gonna be an expensive
It would be.
project.
You have to remove all the
Riprap.
rubble first and
Do
then
it
come
from
back
the
and sheet
water.
pile it.
I mean, the road, like I say, every time I look at it, looks like it's stable. I mean, it may have sank over the years, but the biggest problem is every time southeast wind blows, everybody that lives beyond that curve is going through water.
Yeah, it's about an 8-inch dip between I don't remember the addresses that we looked at, but
Mhm.
those two houses
Yeah.
right around the curve.
Okay, good, all right, thanks for the numbers. Tahiti also, you did that?
I've got all the field information, but I don't have a
Okay.
quantity yet.
Thank
on
you.
the-
My feel is, you know, we could have a storm come in and actually lose that road and cut off people to their houses down on the other end. Didn't see any indication of that?
I haven't seen any indication of
Okay.
the road failing.
Thank you, I appreciate your opinion.
That's all we have unless there are any other questions.
All right, anyone else? Everything from Mr. Chinich? All right,
All right, thank
appreciate
you.
it, thank you.
Thank you. Yep, Jason, we need to ask Ms. Smith about the pay app for
Oh, yeah.
the
so-
sidewalk project closeout.
I forgot about that. We do have, the final pay app for Old Spanish Trail Sidewalk Project prepared. We did not get it in time for the docket last week, so we had to coordinate and finalize some quantities with the contractor. Is this something that we can approve, or that the council can approve final payment outside of the docket,
Or the agenda?
or the agenda,
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
We make a motion tonight to approve it since it's not on the agenda, or?
Yeah, it's,
And put it on there to approve it and issue payment.
Yeah, we've been given authorization from MDOT to proceed with the closeout package.
and this is about a year and a half old project, waiting on payment, we need to really,
Get on it.
yeah, quit
I
waiting.
think you would just need to,
Hold it
you
up.
know, be
Yeah.
clear in your motion that you're not only approving it, but you're also authorizing your, city clerk to go ahead and issue payment for it.
Okay.
We have a motion?
And we're gonna pay and get reimbursed, correct?
Yeah, so what'll
So
happen is,
we
once
gotta
they
identify the source.
submit the payment, the contractor will, we'll need to get a copy of the canceled check, and then the city will turn in the reimbursement request based off of that.
Mayor, do you have any problem with doing that?
Just, we'll be all right out of general fund, would take 36 days to get reimbursed, you think, or?
Well, this is a closeout, so it's probably gonna take longer than that, by
Yeah.
the time everything gets approved through DOT.
What is this again, Mr. Kamichi?
This is the final payment for the Old Spanish Trail Sidewalk project.
Okay.
How much is that?
The final payment amount is...
$71,340.91.
Yes.
Where are we authorizing that to come from? Just
That's what I was trying to figure out. Guess I'd take that out of reserve for now.
Either that or we can take it out of C&M and the utility department, and, as long as we repay it.
Yeah, we need
Okay.
to leave our stuff
Alright.
in reserve.
Okay. All right, so I'll go ahead and
But you need to include that in the motion, though.
check it out to C&M, you said?
Yeah, capital maintenance fund.
C&M and utilities both.
Okay. All right, I'll make the motion to go ahead and approve the final pay app for, the Old Spanish Trail Sidewalk Project. $71,340.91. And, also approve an authorized payment of that to come out of the C&M maintenance account to be repaid when we reimburse from MDOT.
Second.
C&M and utilities or just?
C&M utilities, yes, sorry.
Both to be reimbursed. All right, motion, Mr. DeSalvo, second by Mr. Reed. Any further discussion? Vote the motion. Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right,
Thank you, sir. Council business. We have the laptop purchase. I know we've got a couple in, I think 6 of them actually in. Main discussion here is, if anyone has any objection, council-wise, to purchasing one for our city attorney so that she can have a laptop for council business and city business, that she can use outside of her normal work computer.
Do you, Ms. Smith, you want another computer to put? or you
Well,
have-
yeah, I mean, this is bad.
Okay.
That's some college.
Shouldn't Butler Snow pay for that?
For this one?
Uh-huh.
No, Butler Snow pays for this one,
And that's a bad computer?
yes.
Shouldn't be, no.
How much is the cost of the computer?
It depends on if she gets an i5 or an i7, they're running like, what was it, Miss Lisa?
I wanna say it was $250 for the i5
Right.
and $3 or $350
About
for
three
the i7.
for the i7.
$320, I think, or
Yeah.
$29, something like that.
So,
So do you have to have a specific computer to run this program? The Granicus program?
Well, you just have to have a laptop to run it. The i5s and the i7s would definitely handle it. The i3 would be a little bit slow, on the slow side.
You
Yep.
log into it, you'll download it, and I downloaded and logged it, into this laptop, so if this one can handle it, I'm sure those can.
Yes.
So it's just you just logging into a program? You're not, so,
Right.
it's just a website, so you're not downloading.
You're correct.
Right. If you'll download to get on there, but that's it.
There, that's
Got
it.
the program on it.
Yeah, it's just a program, here, I'll show you.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's just a minute track program.
You know nothing about this stuff.
Yeah, it's nothing major.
Simple.
All right, so need to authorize, purchase for one more laptop for.
And she can have mine. I'm gonna buy my own.
You sure?
So, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
so she could take the one I was
Very
gonna get. No, I'll purchase my own from,
But we've got 6 now, so.
okay, I'll pay for mine.
How are we gonna pay for these?
I'm not sure, I know that when we bought that computer in there, we still had a little bit of funds in to buy that type of equipment. I'm not sure what's in there right now.
$593 overdrawn. Well, computer and software. Yeah, we probably, equipment rental. Not rent, no, probably got room in equipment rental, we just move some money around. At legal advertisement as well. Probably do a budget amendment and buy them.
Then we got the capital expense account, still got a little bit.
Yeah, $1,600 capital expense.
Yes, sir.
Probably move some money around and pay for them.
Yeah.
I don't need one, but
Well, I may be soon, so do have one to spare. This one's kind of back and forth. Couple of glitches.
You had no problems getting on the screen the other day with it.
Yeah, a couple of buttons not working,
Mhm.
things like that.
Just gotta tap it.
All right,
Okay?
so we need a motion.
Okay. All right, so need a motion to,
Approve, another purchase of a laptop.
okay.
You want a motion, or you want me to motion it?
No. I'll make a motion to approve it. Purchase
Second.
a laptop for city attorney.
Second.
All right, motion, Mr. Salvo, second, Mr. Smith. Any further discussion from the council? Vote to motion. Motion passes, 6-1. Motion passes 6-0. Mr. Zimmerman was absent. Left the room. All right,
I think that was just I put it on there from the agenda.
Yeah, that's fine.
I got a call in on it, so. The water?
All right, the water due.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Salvo, you have anything for city business, council business?
The only thing I really have is the grass is looking good back there. I appreciate the overtime they worked and everything. That's looking a lot better. People are glad. Only other thing is a few of the projects like Elaine Street, because all the construction going on, it's staying muddy. The road's still staying on, the water's still standing on the side of the road. Any time frame when they're gonna put that gravel down alongside, and then,
That's on Jason's, proposal.
proposal drainage
With drainage and all.
project, yeah.
That's something we can do in-house when we need proper.
Okay, all right, all right, that's all I really got tonight.
Mr. Smith?
Mr. Mayor, when will the grass cutting start in Ward 4? Because St. Charles Street and Central, the grass is literally 7 foot high on that railroad track there. You can't even see, when you cross over the railroad tracks at St. Charles and Central, you cannot see Central.
Okay.
I got a complaint on that also today.
Yeah.
It's bad. Bad.
Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Reed?
We wanted to revisit, I think all the council have a letter from Alice Mosley Museum from March 3rd, March 20th, 2018. And they were interested in renting a space 26 by 29, 754 square feet at $6 a foot, which will give the city $4,524 in 12 months, $377 a month. And just wanted to put this for, I have no problem with it, but let me read the letter just for the record. It says March 20th, 2018, and is resubmitted 7/24/18 for consideration. Mr. Gene Hoffman, Bay St. Louis City Council President, the Councilman Seal, Reed, Smith, Zimmerman, DeSalvo, Melblock. And the subject is the storage multi-use teaching area space rental at the Depot District. And again, it's 754 square feet. And it says, Councilman, due to a shortage of storage space in the Depot building, the Alice Mosley Folk Art and Antique Museum would like to propose the following for your consideration and approval. Rent the area commonly known as the kitchen area at a monthly rate. The kitchen area includes the area where kitchen equipment located and all space included in the area between sliding doors and entry from hall connecting kitchen area and depot entry at the elevator. There will be no usage of cooking equipment located in the kitchen area, and the museum agrees to pay the $6 per square foot as outlined by the appraiser hired by the Bay St. Louis City Council previously. The museum will extend current insurance coverage to include the storage area being rented, and the museum agrees to secure and maintain this lockable storage area with city accessibility as warranted. The museum would request an August 1st, 2018 start date with monthly payment payable to the city of Bay St. Louis on the 1st of August and the 1st of every month thereafter. Museum requests a one-year rental commencing on April 1st, which should be August 1st, 2018 through July 1st, July 31st, 2019, with possible renewals as requested by museum and approved by council yearly. Any and all other usages will be requested in writing to city administration for prior approval if needed. Thanks for your consideration regarding this matter. W.L. Tim Mosley at Alice Mosley Folk Art Museum. And just wanted to bring this before the council. Again, I have no problem with it, but maybe, you know, with the councilman, I had a blockage. Our president, you know, he was suggesting, he and I were talking, and he was suggesting that with the agreement that we already have with the Alice Mosley Museum, if we can do this on a month-to-month basis until it catches up with that agreement so they'll be in sync. And so, you know, I would agree with Councilman Hoffman if we were to approve this. So just wanted to see the pleasure of the council on this.
My concern is
Can I say, yes, I'm not opposed to this or anything. The only thing I'd like to see is a storage. There's a lot of things still left in there, snowflakes and all that. We've taken a lot of things out of there when they did the termite inspection and everything, and all that was taken care of. You know, we gotta find a place for storage for the snowflakes and all that. And, you know, I know at times they use it to store barrels and barricades sometimes in there, you know, for everyday things. But that's all I ask, to give us to the next meeting. Let's see where we can store what's in there.
Okay.
You know.
All right, so, Mr. Mayor, you're just asking that we just find a place to store what's in there right now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Because, I mean, I don't know the value of what's in there, but I know it's, those snowflakes are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a pretty good many of them, so I mean, it's not, we can just go throw outside or somewhere else and,
Exactly.
you know, so if we can just get to the next meeting and see if there's a possibility of finding a place to store it, you know, safe and everything, and
So if we approve it, we'll just, approve it giving us so many days to find another place. Maybe,
the other thing is
maybe
find another
30
place.
days.
Can't find a place,
We
then we
need
just
to
don't throw stuff out.
Yeah, we
Right.
need to table this until,
You know, like I said,
Can't
if
store it, we can't
we
rent.
meet on the sixth or whatever.
Well, I'd also like, I mean, I would prefer if y'all actually approved the lease, because if you remember, kind of what got us in the situation the last time, y'all approved something, but you didn't have a formal lease, and then you had to go back. So if you would give the mayor the time to figure out how to get the stuff out the room, and then I can actually go ahead and have the separate lease, so then y'all can actually approve a lease at the same time, so everything is done at one time.
good,
Okay,
yeah.
so can we go ahead and put that on the agenda for,
Yeah,
Father,
what is
did
it,
you
the
wanna
fifth,
say
sixth, something like that? Seven?
yes?
Lonnie Falgo, Alice Mosley Museum. I'm representing Mr. Tim Mosley tonight. The reason this came back up today was Alice Mosley Museum has received a $3,500 grant to start our educational program. I addressed that with y'all last year when we got the lease. And we have to actuate or get approval from the lease before August 1st so we can put in for the lease. This money is we put it up first, we get the lease, we do the classroom, and at the end of the year, we get the money back. Now, to answer your questions, and we went through this before, we have no intention of asking y'all to turn this over and get it ready in 6 days, 7 days, 8 days. The only thing that, on behalf of the museum and the foundation, we're asking is for y'all to approve the lease and then give Ms. Smith the chance to draw it up. All I need is an approval. We have spoken with Myrna about this, and there's stuff that needs to be thrown away. There's stuff that needs to be destroyed, and there's a bunch of Christmas stuff that can be hung in the ceilings there. We will cooperate with her, and we will save everything we can in there so we don't have a situation we had 90 days ago. We're not looking to put her out. We're just looking to obtain a grant. We are sister partnering with MAP to do this schooling, and we have to get it moving. That's all this is. I'm just asking if y'all would agree to rent it to us. All the conditions and insurance is all, just takes one phone call. I'll put the insurance and everything on there August 1st, and as y'all know, we got a concert and other things coming up. We're not looking to put her out of there right now. We need to work with her, work with us. All we're looking for is a lease. We'll work with tourism. You can put it in the record that we will assist her in any way we can, and what we can hang and put in storage for her, we'll be more than happy to help her. One of the other things I would like to propose, and this is a sidebar from this lease, is that the city went in there, and of course there was termites. We reported, and the city went in there and did a good job of getting all the stuff out of there, but that place is extremely dirty. There's wood everywhere, etc. We would be willing to clean it for the city and get everything organized for y'all at no cost. We'll do it, because it's a mess right now. I mean, we had to get termites out, and Mr. Maley came in and fixed it, but we'll also be willing to work with the city crews and to get this stuff out of here.
You gonna turn that into a classroom?
Yes, sir. It's actually a grant that we put in for a year ago with the Mississippi Department of Resources, and it was part of our educational program that we applied for. We applied for $3,500, and we just got the letter of affirmation. We also put in for a $10,000 grant, and this is what the festival is going for. We have to spend every penny of that money on this festival on August 18th, so make sure y'all buy your tickets and come join us and everything. But we're getting the grants now that we have a lease. We just received a $7,500 operations grant for the two ladies we have there. We applied for a $3,500 grant to start schools. We have Miss Linda Watson, who is a resident of Ward 6. She's taking the educational program over, and she's going to do the teaching along with Miss Betty Pottercheck with MAP. So it's a good partnership. It's a good way to utilize that space. And that's why we came up with a figure to try to help the city with the utilities and all. We'd like to make the offer back, and we can use this $35 to pay the city back. Because you see, if we put a classroom in there, I can show that we're renting from the city, and if this $3,500 will go back to the city. So, and this one, everybody wins.
So you're talking about the space, so the classroom will be where the space where the roll-up doors at,
That's
correct?
correct. What the plans are, Mr. Seal, just for, I know y'all having a long night, but what the plans are is MAP has their summer program coming up this Friday and Saturday night, and I urge all y'all to go see these kids. I've been a member of that for 9 years. It's a great program. Well, what they're planning on doing is we would get the okay from y'all. We'll get in there next weekend, and we're gonna start cleaning this place up and get it ready. And what they're actually gonna do is take the scenery that's on this program Saturday night, and they're gonna go in there and decorate these walls in that room and cover up the walls because they're pretty ugly. So those walls will become scenery walls, and we're gonna magically turn them into a classroom with the scenery that's finished from Shrek this weekend.
Shrek Junior,
Yeah.
the musical.
Yes, so it's a win-win for everybody, fellas. We're just trying to help the.
Who owns the stuff that's in there right now?
Well, a lot of stuff, buddy, and you know this as long as you've been here. Myrna and I actually walked through it, and she went, I don't know what this is for. They got some old desks that are painted black with about 37 coats of paint
Well, that's
on
what
it.
that's what I was going back to. The snowflakes and all actually belongs to the tourism.
That's correct.
Those aren't City of Bay St. Louis's.
There's some signs back there, buddy, from 1994, 1998. There's some flags that are all tattered and torn. That's the kind of stuff Myrna said we'll need to dump. The stuff with Myrna, if you go in there, some of the stuff already hung from the ceiling.
Right.
And if we get a city employee just to come run some more wires up there, we can,
Well, where I was
can hang
going
them
with
from the
this is
ceiling.
that we can, as a council, give you permission to go move somebody else's belongings.
We're not going to. She's gonna move it. She'll be right there with us. We're not gonna touch it. We're gonna assist her. That's why I asked to speak, is because we wanna rent the space. We wanna help her, but I wanted y'all to make sure y'all were not thinking we wanted to rush October 1st and throw Myrna and her stuff out. That's not the case at all. She's actually in the program with us, buddy.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she's part of the grant process
Yeah.
we went after. So.
I didn't know the situation. It was
No,
just
this
seemed
is a
like
win-win
sticky.
for everybody, I assure you. We just decided as a meeting of the foundation the other night that when we looked at the award letter, we have all the stuff donated from us from MAP, so we decided to, y'all kind enough to let us have the space upstairs. So when we read the fine print saying we can pay rent with this if we had to go out and rent an office down the street, so we voted, why go down the street? Let's just use downstairs and we'll give the check to the city. Any other questions?
Mike, you feel comfortable with doing this in this? That's the thing I'm thinking about, those snowflakes take up a lot of area.
Well, buddy, Matt, you implemented a program with the snowflakes that they built a pedestal with a stick down the middle of it. It's about this high. And the snowflakes actually slide on these pedestals. There must be 20 of them in there. If we
Right.
could just find a place to put the pedestal, the rest of the stuff can hang from the ceilings. And again, Myrna has nothing to do with us paying the contract, but she is part of this.
I'm like Mike, I just don't know where we're gonna put it.
Is there any space, Mike, in that, building behind City Hall, behind the police station that used to be the code office for a little while, that small building?
No, I don't think that'll house that.
Miss,
What about the metal building that doesn't have AC in it?
I don't think it's
Across-
big enough.
Mr. Smith?
What about the old
that's-
parking garage for the police station?
Buddy, if I may ask you to help out with this, next to where you had Pace back there, you know where you had Pace in the back, and to the left, under your regime, you put wires and everything, that's where they were. I mean, there's probably 300 or 400 feet of wire, it should still be up there, and that's what they used to do, was hang them up there. Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect place, and it's off the ground. I mean, we'll work with you anyway. I mean, this is not about getting, I have to get this. No, the only reason I'm asking you to approve this tonight, so I can get the mayor to certify this, so I can get it with my letter. I will, if I have to, send a proof to the mayor on the DMR. but I have to have a office space rented or a classroom. We actually looked at Kevin Jordan's place across the street, to be very honest with you. The old Al Smith barbershop is now empty, and I tried to work with Kevin Jordan, but the problem is we got 112 kids. We can't fit them in there. So this is why we decided, hey, let's give the money back to the city. There's bathrooms down there. Well, it'll be during the day, Mike.
Leave that open for
Well, either that, they can come upstairs to the museum. We have bathrooms either way, you know. But this is gonna be a 9 to 3 deal. But once they go back to school, MAPPA will be able to participate year-round. You see, that'll open them up for a grant also. MAPPA right now is a seasonal thing. It's only for their play. But if they contribute classroom time, they in turn will get a grant. So we're trying to open up the classroom for them also, where everybody wins. I appreciate your time, and I really hope y'all would pass this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mike, I don't know if, Heather's not in here right now, I don't know if this is allowable or not, but if we want to pass it, subject to the city being able to find some storage space, you know, in city property, that's fine. I've got 1,100 square feet.
City property, even though it's used in the city.
Well, I'm just saying, I have 1,100 square feet at my building that I use as storage that I have nothing in right now, so I'm willing to donate that for at least a year to tourism if we can't locate any city property to put it on, or space, so we can make this happen. I think it's good for the kids.
That's great, yeah.
All right, any further discussion?
Do we need a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to lease this space, 754 square feet, to the Alice Mosley Folk Museum for $377 a month, for a total of $4,524 a year. But I would also like to state in this motion that we do it month by month until it catches up. And you can help me, Ms. Smith.
I'll look at the way of the language, but, I mean, the way of the lease, but what I'll do is I'll just draft it to where it's for a certain term until it catches up.
Yes.
And then
I think
put
the other one
same
comes due in
renewal.
October, so we're looking at August and September.
Okay.
That's why. Well, yeah, I don't know when it was dated for.
I'll look
so
at
we'll
it and
look at
make sure
and
it
see.
matches up, and then
Whenever it
put
matches
the
up
same
to, we'll
renewal
put the new,
language.
yeah,
Yeah.
that'll work.
Okay, so that's my motion.
The other,
Contingent
no, I
upon-
don't wanna do that.
Contingent upon,
Tourism. Storage,
what,
upon finding storage for tourism.
finding storage for tourism,
Or moving it to my space.
or moving it to Mr. Hoffman's building.
I'll second that.
Motion, Mr. Reed, second, Mr. Knobloch. Hopefully he's got all that. Any further discussion from the council? I vote the motion. Motion passes, 6-1.
Couple bedroom sets.
Mr. DeSalvo.
Just because it wasn't on the agenda for this, I mean, no brought up council business, but, that's why I voted against it.
Brought it up under old council business.
All right. Anything else from Reverend Reed?
That's all.
Council business? Mr. Seal?
Ms. Smith, in the past, the city has cleaned a ditch on the backside of Oaks Boulevard. You know, 3 times since I've been on council, we've cleaned that ditch out. Mr. Zimmerman could probably confess or state that they've cleaned it out. Current Public Works Director says he sees no right that we have to go on that property to clean the ditch out. How do we move forward on something like this?
You get permission to go upon the
Well,
There's an easement
it's an easement. Mr. Zimmerman said it was an easement. Mr. Vanny said it was an easement.
Written easement.
Current Public Works Director won't go clean the ditch out.
Well, if there's an easement on it, then you have a right to the property.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, can you,
Jason, do you know anything about that?
yeah, we've actually pulled culverts out of it because they had a dam on the end of it, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which side, both sides, or?
No, it's really on the left side looking at it. You know, the right side's more of a swale, the left side's really the main.
Yes.
And I know Mr. Favre is, you know, wanting to do the right things, but I know 3 times we've cleaned it, and
Yeah, as long as you have an easement or a right of entry, you should be good.
Doug, back on the back side of that, we used to put a bush hog in there and bush hog the whole ditch.
yeah,
Help keep it clean, keep it from getting piled up. I don't know what it looks like right now, it hasn't been in there
yeah,
in
you
quite a
can't get in
while.
there.
But if you let it get grown up, it'll get away from
Yeah.
you.
We talked about, when we got the new little machines, we could get in there and clean it. I think we have that equipment now. Old City Hall playground status, Mr. Mayor, where are we at?
They put the flag up, but in the process, they was gonna put boards up for the ramp and everything, swing forward up there. Didn't work out like they want, they on order again, hopefully, maybe by the end of next week.
Okay, I know the schools use it, so, and it's just some,
They tried to build it in, you know, while they were waiting, it created more of a hazard than they took it down and got it taken off.
okay. Last meeting, we talked about the school board partnering with the city on the Buyer Drive project. I think I drafted a letter, and I think we was gonna present that to the school board to figure out what we need to do.
Should be on their next agenda.
Okay, so we need to go discuss that. And, I guess same thing, use of tennis courts by the public, hopefully they have some pricing on some type of system.
I know they saw minutes, I think they came up with the prices, sent away also, see if they may want it to be in on. See where we're at.
Okay,
So
great.
when you talk about pricing, what are we talking about there? Come on.
Camera system and, security system in case something happens, they'll have, maybe find out who did it.
Maybe a fob system. I'd prefer a fob system versus a keypad, because you can get anybody a keypad number, but just some type of control, access control point cards.
And we will partnership with them on it.
If we need be, us Waveland School.
Same thing, like you see,
Mr. Mayor.
May see if Wayland wants to join in
Okay.
with that agreement also, I mean.
Open up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seal. Mr. Noblock?
I want to touch back on that vacation rental or VVRO, and I would like to put it on the agenda for the next thing about possibly looking at Ward 6 rezoning to accommodate, the possibility of a VRBO zone, and, send it back to planning and zoning for discussion and public input.
All right. Put that on the agenda, Lisa, for the next meeting.
Also, Mike, they have some huge potholes on the street behind my office.
They supposed to get on that this week.
They are huge, man. I mean, I saw
Put some limestone
a
in.
family of
Get it
raccoons
set.
climb out of it the other day.
Into the alley.
Oh.
Jimmy.
Sure it wasn't beaver.
Ain't heard that in a while, have you?
I think that was a beaver, Gary.
But yes,
Okay.
I tell you.
I'm sure it's.
It's funny, it was in deference to the past councilman at large, Mr. Jimmy Rutherford. Every time he tells a story at work, it's like, Jimmy, because he can tell some stories.
Also, I noticed that when they were taking down those parking lot lights, what did they do with the old ones? Because I noticed that some parking lot lights in our parking lot here aren't working.
Parking
Yeah.
on 90?
Yeah, on 90. They took
Yeah.
some old ones down, but I noticed
No,
that
we
we
have
have two heads that aren't
stockpile.
working.
We have a stockpile here, and yard, also we'll have some light stockpile, and. hope
Maybe you
to
get the
change
new
these out-
bucket truck y'all got.
We're
one of
gonna
y'all.
try to change these out to the LEDs.
Okay, yeah, but right now they're black. I mean, it's dark out there. But that's all I have.
But they have it all stockpile right now.
All right. I have one more thing, Mr. Kenichi. With, project 28, how are we coming along with that?
The drainage ditch?
Yes.
Last I talked to the county, they had to pull off due to a lot of the rain, and they're just trying to work it back in their schedule to get back out there and finish cleaning it up.
Okay. I can live with that, because this is a July, really, I can't remember seeing so much water on the ground in July, and in the ditches. It's usually dry.
Right.
Yeah, so, okay. Thank you.
Oh, one last thing. I want to thank Reverend Reed for that fine job on Washington. that cleaning.
Well, we're not finished yet.
Okay. It
And-
looks pretty good so far.
All right.
All right, and, we've got a couple things that have the, lady that has 331 Main Street has requested that we put a speed bump in front of her house.
On Main?
On Main.
People across the street's okay with it?
I don't know if the people across the street are okay with it, she just brought it to my attention tonight, so.
Check and see if the people
Check
across the
what's
street
going
in that
on
neighborhood.
otherwise. But she
Need to
said,
go with Thomas
agree.
first.
Huh?
Need to go with Thomas first.
Hopefully by the end of the week. I didn't send you that.
We talked about it.
and then we have, the workshop tonight was with regard to making State Street, entire street one-way, from the beach to where it ends, up there on the backside of Maine, close to 90, but, I'd like to, I guess, propose a motion to go ahead and make that street one-way and get the proper signage on it so that hopefully we'll stop people from going down the wrong way. And as they pointed out a couple times, you don't have, once you get past the one-way, don't go this way sign, do not enter, what have you, then you're looking at backsides of stop signs and things, so people just run those coming the wrong way, that can be very dangerous, so. Motion to, make State Street one-way, the entire street, basically the last two blocks that are not currently one.
Yeah, 4 and 500.
4 and 500.
That's what you want.
Second.
All right, second, Mr. Reed, any further discussion from the council? Vote the motion. Motion passed 7-0. All right, that's all I had. Go ahead, man.
Ms. Smith, some legal guidance. Can you give this council some legal guidance on what we can and can't do outside the meetings? I mean, are we not allowed to meet with nobody?
So as far
Anywhere,
as,
I mean-
as far as public meetings
Yes.
goes,
I mean,
no, you
we need some
are.
clarification, I think.
You are. What, a public meeting is if a quorum of you is together. Quorum in this situation would be 4 councilmen. So you cannot have 4 of you together discussing council business, council voting items, council action items. If 4 of you want to go to lunch and talk about football, talk about Waveland, talk about Mardi Gras, you know, whatever the case may be, there's nothing wrong with that. If y'all are going to, you know, a seminar or a class that you're learning something, there's nothing wrong with that. If 2 or 3 of you want to meet to discuss an item or, you know, to talk about something, that's fine. Now, what you can't do is a couple of you can't meet and then, you know, go meet with a couple more and then piece somebody else in, because that's what you call a rolling quorum, and you can't do that.
Can't
So,
even do chain calling either, going, taking a phone, you calling one and out and calling another one, calling
yes,
another.
you can't do that. That's true. So, you know, but like if a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you need to go sit down and talk to the mayor about something, and that's fine, there's nothing wrong with doing that, that's part of your job. I mean, we're in these meetings for only a few hours, a couple of times a month, and I mean, it's impossible for you to do your entire job sitting right here in this room. You'd never be informed of anything. So some of it, you have to do your due diligence to find and to ask questions, and all of that's fine.
So if we have lunch together, it doesn't matter if all 7 of us are there, just as long as we don't talk about city business.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm just saying, but it's
Well,
quite
no, and I
possible.
mean, in fact, it's, y'all are encouraged to do stuff like that, because you should be friends, you should be, I mean, that's just part of doing business, there's nothing wrong. I mean, I know a lot of you are friends outside of here before y'all were ever a part of a council, so you shouldn't stop being friends and stop having dinner together and lunch together and, you know, worried about going to social functions, because you might bump into 2 or 3 of you. I mean, you can't live your life like that, and you shouldn't be expected to.
You know, Heather, early on, when we were first sworn in, Trent gave us Attorney General's opinion saying that 2 or more was really stretching it, and 3 was absolutely not. So he did give the Attorney General's thing, and he sent it to everybody. Lisa, do you have a copy of that by chance?
Well, I mean, the
Oh,
rule
it's
is
there.
The rule is a quorum, and I don't know what opinions these referring to, but if you have, I mean, it's all gonna depend on what the size of your your board is. If you're the board of supervisors where there's 5 of you, if you have 3 of you together discussing city business, then you have a quorum. So, I mean, what I'm saying is if there's an AG's opinion that said 2 is a quorum, well, was it a 3-person board? I don't know, you know, I just don't know. I don't know how the AG opinion was written to see, but if it was talking about a specific board, then you can't really,
Well-
you can't look at the number.
Yes. Well, since we're talking about it, then I would like council to authorize Heather to get a legal opinion on this so that we don't get in any future trouble. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of confusion.
She's giving her opinion now.
Yeah, I
No,
I
from the
don't-
Attorney General.
Well, I have no problem doing that. That would actually, I mean, I guess you could do the AG or the
Or I can dig it up tomorrow and send it back out.
commission because it would be an Open Meetings Act violation. The problem with doing something that vague is you would have to, these things are situational. So it's not, there's never gonna be, I can't just ask for this, you know, how, well, AG, how many, you know, what constitutes a quorum of the Bay St. Louis City Council council? They're gonna write back and say, well, how many
Well-
councilmen are there? I'm gonna say 7. He's gonna say, well, quorum's 4.
Yeah, but I think what they're talking about is I just lost my train of thought on it, but basically, being transparent and not talking about city business without, you know, normally if we're gonna talk about city business, it needs to be upfront.
Yeah,
Well,
but
it's
that
hard
would
to-
preclude us from going to any chamber meetings, it would, from taking photo ops, when there's 3 or more of us together. I mean, we were just,
I mean,
3 of us together taking photo ops for mailing. I mean,
Well, if you're taking photo ops, you're not discussing anything.
yeah,
That-
well,
that's
I agree
exactly
with
my
that.
point.
I'm just
but-
saying city
but
business.
at a luncheon or any kind of social function, you know.
I think what Gary's trying to say is that even if there's just 3 people together, we should not be discussing city business. And I don't
Absolutely
agree
not.
with that, huh?
Absolutely not.
But
Because
that's
that
not-
way, we're
that's not
violating the
correct.
open meetings law. That's what I'm getting at.
I
We're
do
not.
not.
We're not.
I do not think that's violating the open meetings law unless you 3 go call in somebody else or go start discussing what you discussed with somebody else. And so then you
And-
run into that rolling quorum issue where you have the 4 people discussing it. And then if somebody wanted to say something, they could try to say that you had a rolling quorum.
And the Attorney General opinion to hang their hat on was a rolling quorum. It wasn't that. Yeah, 2 met with the mayor earlier, 2 met later, 1 met later, in the same day to discuss it.
And those
That's a
opinions
different
came down
circumstance.
about 2 years ago, because what would happen is, say, let's take our next title, grass cutting, for example. So say the mayor had some idea he wanted to do, he would schedule a meeting with you, Gary, at 9 o'clock. Then he'd schedule a meeting with Doug and Reverend Reed at 9:45. And then, 10:15, Gene walks in, and then later in the day, these 3 walk in. So he had the exact same conversation about something that is on the agenda that you're gonna discuss, that you're going to talk about with each one of you, and you all discussed it, you all put in your input. In reality, a lot of times, somebody might stay there and kinda leave when the next group came, but then somebody else would stay. So that's what that opinion was referring to. I think it actually came out of Meridian, either Meridian or Laurel. But that's what that was about. That wasn't about, say 3 of you have an issue and you go sit down and you talk to the mayor about it. You say, yeah, this is an issue. You put it on your next agenda and y'all are all talking about it publicly. That's not what that is referring to.
And 3 and the mayor is not a quorum either, because the mayor is not a voting member of the council, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
the
just want to get
mayor's-
it all out there, because there's a lot of speculation and rumors going around, and people blasting people on social media and stuff, and I just,
Yeah,
I
no, the
want them, then
mayor's
you know what they're
not.
talking about before they sit there and make accusations against people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that was mine, thank you.
All right. Good.
Right, I haven't checked
I
your
have it.
email.
I'll send it
Yeah,
back
I
out.
check email.
Mayor's report. Talking about,
Combined.
So, I guess on, I know on the, when we did the 603 bids, we were very specific about how far back, behind the ditches, how far along the edges. Centimeters. Okay, yeah, okay. Okay. So, okay, I was looking at the 22, okay. It's hard. Yeah, it's gonna be hard.
When would you want to implement this? This type of contract, once it comes back from bids? No, when?
12 PM, August 6th is what's in here.
Okay, I see. Yeah, where's the money gonna come from? I got you.
I think it calls for, all wards 1 through 6 every 4 weeks, 12 times a year. And both of them calls for additional pickups, if needed. And so there'd be a separate price on the debris pickup and the grass cutting. If we see something, something comes up, we have hot winters and everything, maybe we need more cutting or something. So that would all be included in that proposals fee. So we ask that we send these out for proposals. Need authorization for the advertisement and everything to do this.
I'll make the motion to go ahead and authorize the mayor to advertise for grass cutting proposals and grapple truck. My only thing is, if it's a kind of a per cut price, because 10 times would be great, but we're probably not getting 3 sometimes on the backside of the ditch. I don't want the price to be so absurd compared to the actual service they're receiving today that it's not feasible to contract it out. I mean, because some of mine just got cut to this time since November or December, some of them backside. So 10 would be great, but maybe more than we can afford. And 8 might be 3 times better than we're getting today. That's just my thoughts. So I make that motion.
I'll second it with discussion. Now, in bidding, they're gonna bid all of these?
I think it's a total of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bids total you would receive.
Okay.
It would be Ward 6, it'd be twice that. 10 and 12 cuttings with additional cutting. Wards 5 and 6, 10, 12 cuttings, additional cost for that. 1 through 4, 10, 12 additional cuttings. 1 through 6 would be the entire city. Highway 90, Highway 603 cuttings.
So they're gonna give a bid for each one of these?
Yep.
All right. Now, Mr. Mayor and council, honorable council members, I'm under this impression that right across the street, Main Street, that's the seat of city government. And it should be the standard.
Yep.
It should be the standard in our city. People are gonna come in there to build houses, get permits, they're gonna come in there to see the mayor, they're gonna come in there, see the building department, they're gonna come in there to see the police. And right now, and when we talk about, let's go back to colonization, let's talk England. When England, Britain, they colonized America, they colonized the Bahamas, they colonized Grenada, they colonized Trinidad. And colonization is sort of like annexation, that you make the annex area or the colony look like the homeland. There's the homeland right over there. And homeland now looks like all the city. The grass not cut, it's not trimmed, no flowers blooming. Main Street is just what it is in our city. It's Main Street. There shouldn't be grass growing through the sidewalks. There shouldn't be rocks on the side of the road. That's the attraction. What I'm saying is that before we send workers, and this is me, anywhere else in the city, we need our homeland, City Hall, manicured, because it's the example for the rest of the city. I don't care if the mayor do live on Main Street, you know, and they could say that, well, the mayor's got his street, you know, nice and clean. It just so happened the mayor lives on Main Street that our city needs to keep up because it's leading to our downtown area, which is our attraction. So, you know, if I did vote on, you know, a specific ward receiving, you know, a contract, it would be the seat of the city government, which is right across the street, because that's where people are coming, and that's the place that sets the standard for the rest of the city. And that's you know, that's my opinion. So I think some attention need to be given to the seat of our city government, you know, and the main street in our city government that leads to our downtown. For what it's worth.
I have a motion, second by Reverend Reed. Any further discussion from the council?
You guys got some?
This is for both proposals to allow them to go out, to put them out for bid.
I got something.
Yes.
Mike, looking at this, I would take and ask you to consider doing these unit prices on a monthly basis. And the reason is that you'll have to qualify that certain amounts of work was done. If you do this, you know, 10 cuttings, 12 cuttings, you'll get one billing a year. But if you're doing a monthly basis, at least you can go out and make sure you're getting the product you want.
Oh, no doubt.
You know, but you follow what I'm saying? By having it like this, the only time you're gonna see a bill is once a year, and it's gonna be like, did they do all of this?
But that would
Well,
be in the contract. We can adjust the contract how we want to make the payments. Would that be right, Heather?
I'd consider that putting.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not gonna be one bid where they get paid all at one time. But I mean, you know, you could break it down into monthly payments.
When you're talking about unit price, like there's different ways of doing, because I think you have it, Brett, I'm trying to remember this, because I don't have one in front of me, but you had, it was like 10 cuttings per month or something like that?
Yeah. 10 cuttings per year.
Per year.
Per year?
He's got one option, 10 cuttings per year, another option, 12 cuttings a year, another option cost for extra cuttings above those. And that's just for Highway 603, and then you got Ward 5 and 6
Yeah.
likewise. And I just think it would be a whole lot easier to police, and I hate using that word, a whole lot easier to check on and make sure that you're getting the product the city's looking for on a monthly basis billing. You know, when the bill comes in, you go out and make sure that that's what
I
y'all
think
have
they would
accomplished
send
that month.
Yeah, they could set
invoice
that
each
up in
time
the
they cut.
contract.
You what?
You could set that up in the
Invoice each
contract.
Right.
And in the contract, you know, we can stipulate how we want to do that.
Exactly.
Mr. President, thank you, gentlemen.
If you don't mind me addressing, my name's Scott Brewer with RCI, and we actually held, years ago, the City of Bay St. Louis contract for all the grounds maintenance prior to the Filling the Game administration. And Buddy's exactly right. Typically, there's two ways in regards to the proposal. One, if it's 10 times a year, 30 times a year, whatever that total number is, it's divided by 12 and billed in evenly payments so that the city can obviously manage their funding for the source. The other way that was actually done, and we take care of several other municipalities, is it's paid by the linear footage on the roads. Downside to that is accuracy. I know out in Josh's area, you know, what's a road, what's not a road, you know, you got some paved, some not paved. Obviously, you go a little bit slower on a road that's not paved with your machinery that you do on a road that's paved. And so you know, I give you a unit price for X amount of dollars per linear foot. Well, that could vary greatly from his area as compared to obviously in the city. But just as a notation that you're exactly right from a contractual standpoint, can be contracted any way you want. And in the previous contract, it was a contractual agreement for, you know, 10 cuttings, but the city had to authorize the start of each one of those cuttings. before the fact from funding. So if, and there were years where we did 8 or we did 9. I think there was only 1 year where we did actually what was proposed, but the proposal actually gives you, you know, obviously you're talking about a, you know, about a $500,000 investment worth of new equipment and what have you, you know, for the municipality. So there's, the flexibility is there. It just is, however, you know, ends up being written contractually for each one of the persons.
Do you all still have the contract that you all had with the City of Bay St. Louis?
Yes, the actual documentation of
Right.
that, yes.
Right. Is there a way you can get that to the council?
Well, see, then that would show all of the linear footage of the stuff that we put together for that. And that
Okay.
would make it open public and it may be
Okay.
disadvantage to us to provide that. But I can get you the legal documentation.
Well, we should have a copy of whatever contract we had with them. Lisa should be able to find.
It was,
10?
07. It ran till 10, or right in there. Yeah, it was 07, 07, 08, 09, 10. But yes, I mean, that documentation is available. Actually, when the lady was talking about roads earlier, that doesn't kind of jive with all the linear footages that we have from, you know, 2007, but, you know, there could be some roads that are maybe no longer used or maybe add.
Now, was the annex area included in that during that time?
It was, it actually, it came on, and I've actually discussed this and looked back through, but yes. And it was, at that point in time, there was, you know, a whole lot of nothing back there to get to as compared to today with the development. You've got areas back there now that you used to go down and maybe knock off a foot or two just to make sure you could drive down the dirt road, where now you're getting back, you know, 8, 9 feet. And we've actually provided, you know, Mr. Kim and discussions about the linear footages as well as the widths, based on some different zones that we've worked up, you know, over the, I mean, I'm a resident of Hancock County. I do not live here in Bay St. Louis, but probably with my kids, you know, at school down here, I spend probably 80% of my time in the Bay. And so I take time to kind of drive the different, you know, zones and kind of see what's going on. But yes, I mean, stipulating, especially on 90 and 603, and I don't know whether or not MDOT offsets some of that cost like they used to do. Like they used to do there, but.
Giving it to us.
Yeah, it was, you know, so many times on the front side of the ditches, so many times on the back side of the ditches, but traditionally, the front and the back were not mowed at the same frequency. But you did need to keep a proper fire line going from the back side of the ditch all the way to, because I think the fire hydrants were going in at the point in time back in that 07 to 2010. So that's where it actually started working back to the existing tree line now. So, thank you for your time. I appreciate the.
Thank you.
insight.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Gene, the only thing that I would ask Mr. DeSalvo to adjust his thing to allow maybe another week or two to allow this bid process to unfold, because by the time the bids go out in the paper, you want to give these bidders adequate time to look at the whole city, a single ward. I just don't know if we're allowing them enough time. August 6th is kind of a tight time.
We have to advertise once or twice.
Well, it really just depends. Grass cutting is viewed by the Attorney General as a professional service. So the reality is you don't actually have to put this out for proposals, so, or for bid necessarily. It's always good to put something like this out for proposal because you're talking about a bunch of money. So it's good to look at all your different options. So with that being said, I mean, it's kind of up to you if you want to follow your normal bid law procedures. That's typically what people customarily, I guess, do whenever you're in a situation where you don't have to follow bid law, but you're going to do it anyway. You usually just go with what bid law says. But that's up to y'all if you want to advertise one time, if you want to advertise 2 like you do normal bids. That's usually what, a 21-day window?
I think we should go ahead and advertise twice, for, you know, in the paper for the bids, have it on the website for whatever that is for.
So where would that
So we
push
can
that
get
bid
it on
date to?
the 28th, and that Wednesday, the 1st, 28th and the 1st?
And keep in mind too, there's nothing wrong with soliciting people for stuff like this. It's like, hey, here's our proposal if you want to
What if we,
submit.
can we have a special meeting on the 13th? Only thing I'm looking at is budget, kinda.
I mean, we're still gonna have to have budget meetings, so we just working through one of our budget meetings.
I mean, have bids in,
13th.
yeah, I mean, we don't have to have a meeting, I don't
I mean,
think.
we could, yeah.
We can have one of the meetings, one of the workshops and open them up, and then we can discuss and. Is that good, Gary?
Yeah, as long as we
13th?
open them up in a workshop, that's fine, but then vote on it the next meeting.
13th,
Or the other option is if you wanted to vote on it, if you're trying to go ahead and get this into place now, then just instead of having like your actual workshop, just have special meeting, budget workshop all in one, and just go ahead and have it on the agenda for that, so that you can
we
take
probably
action
won't
if you
take
needed to.
actions on it right then and there.
Now,
I
when,
wouldn't think.
when these bids come in, basically, we'll be able to pick and choose which ones we want. Am I correct? We'll be able to pick and choose which,
I don't think it's gonna be strictly on cost. We need to make sure that everybody can do the job,
no, well, what I'm asking is that, okay, we're gonna get bids on number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and evidently we not gonna be able to, choose all of them, except, all of them. So we're gonna be able to pick which ones we want out of this. Yeah.
Each ward?
Well, we,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
like
my-
if we wanna pick, like the bids come in and we say, well, we're gonna go with number 4, or we're gonna go with number 4 and 5,
No, let's not bid out like that.
Well, it looks like it is.
Yeah.
1 through 4 is a combined bid,
Oh, well, it
and
looks
then
like-
5 and 6 is combined.
I know, but number 1 looks like everything except 603. Then the number 2 is all awards 5 and 6 combined, but not 3. So to me, I would get separate price. To me, I would expect a separate price for each one of those first 5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On separate price for each ward.
That's what I would
Absolutely.
see it.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
what
that's
I
where
see
I
it, too.
interpret it, it'd be a separate price. Number 4, all wards combined, but not 90 and 603.
Yeah, so take out modified
All,
3.
yeah, but
and say
3 is all awards, 1, 2, and 3, that's combined.
Right, but not 90.
Right.
So to me, it looks like you're gonna have 5 separate costs, or 5 separate totals for each one of those.
Exactly.
The way I look at it.
Me also.
You're gonna have, yes.
I would like a per award bid price, that way
You
you
want
know.
individual award.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what number 4 is,
No. Number 4 is all awards combined.
Yeah, but let's take the
That's the
combined.
entire city.
Say like number 3, you got all awards 1, 2, 3, 4 combined. Take combined out, let's find out what it costs per
Well,
award.
let's just, all we need to do is say we want a bid for each individual award.
Yeah.
10 cuttings, 12 cuttings, or if you wanna do 8 cuttings, 10, 12.
The only problem with that, you're gonna get into, like Mr. Reed said earlier, which side the street's 5, which side 6, which side's 3, which side's
Yeah.
4. You can just dig the ditch and culverts on one side and cut the grass on one side, or what you're gonna do if you break it down that specific, because these wards aren't drawn by road. They can't go down one side and not the other if you pick a certain ward.
I think this is a good start point. The reality is $600,000. It's the reality. So that's reality. That's what we paid last, I think 606, somewhere around there, if I'm remembering right. So that's, it's a big putt, right? So what do you do to make up that revenue? So, but I think, my proposal was to hire 4 people, 2 operators, 2 grass cutters, buy 2 pieces of equipment, spend $200,000, put them out 5 and 6. Let what we have today maintain the rest of the city. But just some of the things we gotta look at and understand what's gonna come in on these proposals. When RCI was doing it, the fellows were running down the road with weed eaters and grass cutters, buddy. They didn't cut a foot of grass, they didn't get paid.
Best
right?
to have a look.
I mean, I saw it. But again, we paid for a premium price, it looked great. You know, we lost $1 million in revenue from a casino since then, right?
Yep.
So, so much blood in the turnip.
And like I say, the quality of work, and maybe that we want to look at 603 and 90, because they're the corridors to the Main Street
is.
to everything else. The I-10 corridor, I mean, right now it looks kind of rough.
That was
You know, they're trying.
$200,000 the last bid we got.
I mean,
Right.
so it's just something to look at. I
It's
mean,
$1.5 million,
But
$1.75
if-
million.
yeah, if we don't get the bids, we won't know where we're
Just
gonna
cut-
stand.
Yeah,
So,
we just need to think, this is a starting point,
yes, mhm,
personally, what I think.
yeah, mhm. And like I say, tell us what direction to go, buy the equipment, hire employees, sub it out. Mhm. So,
So the only change is gonna be to have it come back by the 13th?
13.
And also
Really?
to
5
call it
It's 5 separate
proposals, but
prices.
we can, if y'all just, gonna say to change the proposals, but considering this is proposals, you don't necessarily have to approve that exact document, so we can, the mayor and I can get together and make sure it's, the document you have in front of you says bids, I'd like it to say proposal.
Okay.
made my motion to say proposals and, July 13th, you said? August 13th, I'm sorry.
August 13th, 5 o'clock.
13th, 5 o'clock, okay.
We really make it
All-
In mind,
To a workshop.
and I do want to stress that we get 5 different prices, the price of each one. Make sure they understand that,
Yeah.
who's bidding on this.
Yeah.
That what now?
We get 5 different price, price for number 1, a price for number 2, a price for number 3, a price for number 4, a price for number 5.
I think that's how it's worded in there, yeah, to be different prices.
Well, and I guess the question is that,
Right,
I
they
think
gonna
we
be-
need to know is, because we need to put a line in here for these companies to know, can you pick and choose what you're awarding, or is it all a package? Because I would think that that's probably gonna make a difference for a company of whether price, if they're just coming to cut, say, board one, rather than, you know, the whole thing, it probably will make a difference in pricing. So if we're going to break it out like that, then we need to know, are we going to pick and choose, or is it one price for everything?
I think it would, my opinion would be the easiest thing to do would be have 5 bids, 1 for each ward, a bid for Highway 9 and a bid for 603. Price for each one of those items, take all of this,
And a whole,
That-
all-inclusive one.
and you can choose whatever we can afford to do, or not to choose any of it. But you might get a better,
I think if you get into individual wards, what
Just-
wards are gonna be done.
Well, it's
I
gonna
think-
drive the price up, in my opinion. I
I
mean,
think it's not just price, it's gonna be
mhm.
7 people want 6 people want 6 wards done.
Close
Everybody
looking
wants
at
their
it,
ward
Matt.
done.
Thank you for your
I think
input.
you're getting into something
wouldn't
way
look at
too
that.
deep. I think you bid it out.
Mhm.
Once you
Bid each
do it
other's
all,
throat,
you do it
get
all.
'em how you-
I
how
think
you
you gotta
get
put a
them on
pack.
board right
I
now.
think if you look at the package in
worried
the
about
area,
gas.
1 through 4
Mm-hmm.
is probably, or maybe even 1 through 5 is equal to mostly what
Good
6
point,
is
Mike.
as far as mileage goes.
Mhm.
So, you know, I mean,
And like I said, I think you get a better price like this, because say it is 5 and 6 that we decide to go with, just saying, you're gonna get a better price, I'm sure, there, because they're gonna come in here, it's gonna cut all
Yeah.
week or two. You tell them to cut Ward 1, they're gonna be in here for a day and probably cut most of it and be gone, so you're not gonna get the same kind of price, I don't think, so. I like the way it's worded in here, I think it's a good proposal.
I would note, Josh, that it's a different equipment package too.
Exactly.
When you get into the city, 5 and 6 account for about 64% of the total dollars associated with grass cutting based on the numbers that we had before and the numbers that we run currently. So that's where, you know, the cost, the total cost, and the number you figured, you know, that was 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
You know, obviously, labor cost, everything's going up, equipment, surprisingly, is going up dramatically with steel costs. But that's, you know, I understand the point, but if I'm going to be taking the liability as a contractor for 5 and 6, and somebody else is gonna be 1 through 4, I probably am not gonna give you the same pricing on 5 and 6 if I have that liability of potentially not having the easier part of the city to maintain. Like I said, from a dollar perspective, it matches up to about 64% of the dollars, mainly because of the increased heavy equipment costs are tied up in 5 and 6, and the width of the mowing areas in those zones. From a consideration standpoint, I mean, if you're getting into a situation where you're wanting to contract, but you're also wanting to give yourself the flexibility of maybe having 6 different contractors.
No.
No.
I mean, the municipalities that we take care of currently, 2 of them actually had used that method, and they were spending more time managing the multiple contractors than they ever did trying to figure out what they were doing with their own city employees. And the whole benefit is to limit, as a contractor, Mr. Reed, contractors, like having a sole source providing a breadth of services decreases the headache upon the city and increases your, I don't say strong arm, but your ability to make sure the performance is done.
Thank you. So,
All right, so where are we with your motion?
and the only other thing I'd like to add on the grapple truck is maybe we need to add some kind of yardage to that before we send it out for bid.
Wait, let's finish grass cutting. Did
Okay.
we vote on that
Yeah.
yet?
Well, I made a motion for both of them in one.
Oh, I think, let's probably do them separately.
Do separate? Okay, all right. So, well, I amend my first motion to just be the grass cutting proposal to be turned in August 13th.
Yeah, I did second it.
All right.
5, August 13th, yes.
And again, I did stress, even with the opening statement, it says that the bids are to consist of 5 separate quotes.
Yes. Mhm.
Motion, Mr. DeSalvo as amended, seconded by Mr. Reed as amended. Any discussion further from the council? Vote the motion. Motion passed 7-0. Did you put that proposal out there and advertise? And then you have a motion, Mr. DeSalvo, for the grappling truck?
Grapple truck proposal, possibly have the mayor add a little bit more to it for his yardage. Expect to be picked up from each home. And, let's see here. And also homes only, not just vacant lots, or is that gonna be in that proposal, or how you wanna work that, or just anything? Yeah, with homes, yeah, so, cause that's where somebody's, okay.
First bid would also include, the company paying for their own disposal fees. The other one would be, we, the city, would negotiate with someone and pay the disposal fees. They would just pick up and haul, and we would pay the disposal. So there'll be 2 bids in on that.
Okay. All right.
All right, so motion, Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
To approve the bid for debris pickup, to go out to proposal, be advertised.
Correct.
And-
Yes, sir.
And I would ask, actually, for both of these, if you wouldn't mind, just approve the process of going out and just not necessarily that exact document, because I want to go make sure they have some insurance requirements in there and, just some other language. So I don't want to get proposals back and they say, well, wait a second, you didn't say we had to have, chances are they have it anyway, but we just want to make sure that they know that up front,
Okay.
that what all they need.
Yeah, okay.
Probably be some
Gene,
bonding requirements for the debris removal.
Isn't
Mr.
it already negotiated that every citizen gets 10 yards negotiated in the price of the dump? So so if they would have to keep a log that they picked up.
So much per month, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody gets 10 yards a month.
Okay.
of
When you
dump.
bring stuff to the dump, you gotta show
That's
you
already
have your driver's
negotiated, the
license
county
and-
contract.
That's,
But that's,
that's negotiated, you're referring to a solid waste authority contract, that's actually, that was always kind of like a tall tale, nobody ever really figured out where that came from. It is in the new contract that went into place on the 15th. It does mention that it's up to, the 10 yards per person. However, that's for people bringing it out to the dump. That's for customers bringing to the dump. That's not referring to curbside pickup. Now, if you want it to be, that would be a conversation that I would think that you would need to have with the Board of Supervisors, because right now that's coming from, payment through the millage. Is who's
Well,
funding that.
And I guess if people stop bringing stuff to the dump and putting it on the side of the road, so we had to pick it up, that's definitely something we would need to address with the Board of
Yeah,
Supervisors.
we want to try to address whether or not, you know, if we get the addresses and all, if, even though we picking up and providing that service, if there's possibility of that, you know.
I think that's what they do now, like I said, is, I know they check your license and then.
Right.
I mean, I've done it before, I brought stuff on the 31st and then went back on the 2nd, and you got a new month, so, you know.
I mean,
but
Blaine
if
was
you
all,
missed that date, then you gotta wait 30 days.
You know, Blaine had said that if the, you know, the driver maintained the law, you know, where he picked it up from,
Mm-hmm.
And that's what,
Then we should be able to.
and
dump
that
it
was
there.
part of the deal. He told us that at the legislative session.
Okay.
Anyway, I just want to bring that up. I mean,
Well,
I
no,
don't want to pay
that's,
twice or something.
that's why if the city's the one paying the bill for dumping, you know, definitely we need to make sure that's, you know, that we get that advantage that we're already paying. I mean, every household is paying for 10 yards a month.
That's right, whether they use it
Pick it
or
up
not.
from there, and we got a log showing where it came from, that should be, we get to take advantage of that. Yeah.
all right.
So do we have a second on the motion? Second. No, we have a motion, Mr. Selvey, second, Mr. Seal. Any further discussion? Vote the motion. Motion passed 7-0. So both of them go on out. Attorney report? Or Mike, you have anything else?
I had two things. I think y'all answered one of the questions earlier with that lease. As you know, we got the letter from Gardens, Club building. They will be leaving the end of the month. With that, we need to put advertise, if we have someone wanting to come in, pay the rent, the lease, do we need to advertise first? Or can we just, if someone's willing to come in, they want to negotiate the lease, they can come before council and negotiate lease?
Well, I mean, we have what it should cost.
Right.
Per square foot.
Yep.
So that would just be they would just enter into a lease with the city at that cost, right?
Yep.
No, there's still different, I mean, there's one way around it, but technically you're supposed to advertise it per state statute.
We didn't advertise what we just did.
Huh, good point.
And
There's
I
the
mean, if they willing to come in,
caveat,
my thing, if they willing to come in and pay the lease price, you know.
the
we don't-
caveat is if you can say it's like for the good of the city. I was looking at this probably a week or so ago, and I just can't, actually, for something I'm gonna talk about coming up in the Depot District, that easement or situation we talked about last council meeting. So, I mean, there might be, the safest way to do it will be to advertise it, but there might be a caveat around it. But I'll look into it.
Is it
So
if
where
we-
someone willing to come in, we need to advertise first.
What would the city gain by advertising if we're getting recommended market value? I'm just, you know, from a.
You know, I'm
from
the
that
one, I will never tell you the law is,
Silly.
yeah, I'm
Well,
not
I'm just-
gonna, I'm not
that's
gonna
what
tell
I'm
you
asking.
that it's,
Yeah.
We're
it
trying-
makes sense. I'm just gonna tell you what it is.
Yeah, we're trying to give it away.
I mean, I think what it offers is transparency and the fact that it's offered to everybody out there.
Everybody the same.
Yeah.
We're offering it out
Right.
there now, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
just put it in a newspaper. I guess my question was, do they have a restriction on time of acceptance from the date it's advertised? In other words, if we advertise next week and somebody gonna come in for 6 months, can we say it's been advertised, or do we have to like re-advertise every 30 days or 60 days or something to that extent?
Just says advertise.
So we could just advertise it once blanket, you know, garden centers for rent,
So-
such and such properties for rent, above city halls for rent.
Why
below
don't you
city
just make
hall.
a motion to advertise if needed? Because if it's not needed, then I can work and try to have a lease for you for the next meeting, so we can just get this ball rolling.
And does, I'm sure it does, but I ask anyway, does advertise, is there a specific statute on advertisement and location and specific duration?
think it says advertise in a local paper.
Okay. We can advertise on the city website. That's what I was
Yeah, I
asking.
think- I think
How
that's-
specific does it get?
Yeah, I think it says advertise in a local a county paper. Yeah.
That answers that question.
That 1899 AT&T law.
Also, the only other thing I had was,
Write that down.
approval to purchase that, F-350 dump truck. I think it,
That's from Gray Daniels or
Gray-
Watson?
it is Gray Daniels. Isn't that the cheapest one?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah. Yes.
the same
And
truck.
Same truck, two bids, less than 50. You know, I don't know what I did with mine.
One's $40,010 and the other one's $39,840.
No, it's the other price, I think it is, 36
Oh,
something.
$36,210.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Do they have the same thing?
Well,
Same
There's
thing.
no specs on the other one.
yeah, the Gray Daniels doesn't have a dump bed spec on it.
It is included. He's got a separate email statement that is included in that.
Could you attach that for this, for the,
Yes.
for the minutes?
Yes,
Yeah, 'cause it's hard to tell what it's saying, you know.
yes. I had sent him a text earlier in the meeting when I was looking over it.
And this is coming out of the general fund. This is coming out at 2.75 dedicated millage for equipment.
Yeah, it'd be split between both of them.
Okay. You make a motion to approve the purchase of 2018 Ford F-350 2x4 chassis, 4x2 chassis with dump bed from Gray Daniels Ford for a total price of $36,210. The mayor will attach the supporting documentation stating this vehicle will have a 6-yard dump bed.
No, it's a 3-yard. That's all that truck can come with. Plus, don't need a CDL license driver. Plus, they should be able to dig straight out of the ditch, straight into the truck.
Okay. The other one says a 5 or 6-yard dump bed.
The other one was a 3 to 6, but all it'll do is a 3. And that's the price of a 3.
All right. It's very confusing.
All right, so we have a motion, Mr. Seal,
Second?
second, Mr. Smith.
I
Any
have a-
discussion from the council?
You don't have bid to bid, you don't have spec to spec on these things. That's the only issue that I have.
On what?
Well, if one's being priced as a 3-yard, the other one's getting priced as a 5-yard dump, they're not apples
No,
to
it's
apples.
a 3 to 6, but it's a 3 that fits that truck. I don't even know where mine's at.
So do we need to do this today, or can we get all the correct documentation?
Want it for next meeting?
Yeah.
Put it off
Yeah,
next
get
meeting.
the,
Yeah.
get the correct
Yeah, take,
documentation.
withdraw my motion.
Motion withdrawn, second withdrawn. Yeah.
And then going back to the, lease situation, I knew there was a reason the Mosley one was okay. It's because it's less than 1,500 square feet. How big is the garden center?
It's less than 1,500 square feet.
1499.
1,200 maybe,
I think I got those proposals.
12, 13 maybe.
Magic computer.
If it's less than 1,500, then you still have to have your appraisals, but you don't have to
Well, we have an
advertise
appraisal.
it.
We just did an appraisal.
Right.
No, I know, that's
That's
what I'm
what she's
saying,
saying.
is
We
you have to
cover
have
it.
the, just
If it's
for,
less than 15,
just to
we'll cover
explain
it.
the whole situation.
We'll advertise it.
Well, if it's less than 1,500, then you don't.
We'll have one something later.
And the advertisement is, once a week for 3 consecutive weeks.
In the paper? Costs money.
I know. Well, if it's less than 1,500, then you
We've
don't
never
have to.
advertised one thing for lease.
Yeah, I don't ever remember that either.
Not one building, nothing.
Don't mean it was right.
Even when it was more than 1,500 square feet, we had never, in the last 5 years that I know of advertised one piece of city property, except the airspace.
1,302 square feet.
So we're good.
We're good.
We may not wanna keep talking about that other conversation for 2117.
All right, we'll get the lease on the trucks back and we'll, move forward.
So we're
Do
good
you
on,
have to have the financing first?
Should be done all simultaneously.
Last time you made us put financing bids out first before you allowed us to buy a piece of equipment.
Before we purchase it.
No, yeah, I didn't allow you to purchase it until you secured
Yeah, we
financing.
can get it, we
Yeah, so we're
approved
gonna
it,
get the
but we didn't.
financing bids first?
We approved it, but we didn't purchase it.
Oh, we did?
The,
Yeah, y'all approved it.
The
You approved
financing
it,
for
we
this
just
truck?
couldn't-
no,
No.
I'm talking
No.
about on the sweeper.
Well, I know that. But so if you go out and you wanna buy this truck, the last
Gotta have-
procedure was that we got the financing first before we approved the purchase of the sweeper.
No,
No.
before they gave a
Not
PO
true at
number.
all.
You had to
We approved
finance
the
it before
purchase
you get
Approved
the
that
PO.
purchase
Oh, okay.
a couple months before that.
All right, Mike, you got anything else?
No, thank you.
Attorney's report.
I have two things. One, isn't on the agenda because it just came in, but it's what Mr. John Anderson brought last week with the balcony easement. And, he presented it as an airspace easement, but I think it's actually a balcony, and then I think there's like poles coming down or
Right.
beams or whatever. So looking at all of this, I'm thinking what the best option to do would be to sell an easement to the guy. And gentlemen, remember a couple weeks ago we passed, or a couple months ago now, we passed that procedure to allow basically not to have to go get a full-blown appraisal and to do a comparable mechanism to do that. So that's what I've had done. I'm thinking an easement's gonna be about $1,000. So I've reached out to John and I've told John that, but I haven't heard back. He was supposed to have his clients call me and I haven't heard from them yet. But I did want to just tell you that I think the most feasible way to go about doing this would be, by an easement. That's, I think if I were the gentleman, that's permanent, he doesn't ever have to worry about the next council saying, wait, we don't wanna do that, and tear it down. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys were okay with that, and tell you that I think the cost will be around $1,000.
As long as it wouldn't be considered his private property and people couldn't be on that sidewalk under his balcony.
No, I'd have to word the easement like that. It would be a non-exclusive use easement.
Okay, yeah, because I don't want him to say, get off the sidewalk, that's my balcony, underneath
Yeah.
it's my property. That'd
Yeah.
be my only concern.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
that
Okay.
would be a perpetual easement,
Yes,
change hands from one generation to the next.
yes.
So this transaction, total cost should include all fees
Yeah.
as well, right?
Oh,
Attorney fees?
legal? That's up to y'all.
Yes,
If you wanna
yes.
include that at the,
Yes.
He's the beneficiary of it,
Yes.
not everybody
Right.
else.
And see, and the crazy part though, as far as the actual, appraisal part of this or your comp, it actually says the city will pay for half of it. So it'll be $100. The city pays for it, and then you pay the other 100,
But we can bill it back to him.
possibly.
Because I think that was discussed a while back with Mr. Seals talking about this. Anytime we do it right away, anything, they
Yes.
gotta pay for surveys, attorney's fees, whatever cost the city incurs is gonna be on the person benefiting from the gain of the property or the use of it.
Well, what we can do is tell him, hey, we have this is the price, but you need to prepare have him prepare the easement where I just look at it rather than having to do all that ourselves and then bill him for it. Tell him, you want this easement, you bring it to the city. Because he has the drawings, he has the renderings, and should be able to go prepare his own easement. And then you're just looking at me looking at it for about, split second, I know what to look for in an easement, so. Probably the easiest way to do it.
Usually the buyer does that anyways.
Huh?
Said usually the buyer pays for that anyway.
Yeah.
And it's,
He should understand that. It'd be a lot to ask for,
Taxpayers' general fund money to pay
yeah.
for him to get an
Pay for
easement.
him to get a balcony, so.
Yeah.
The other thing that I have, and you don't need to vote on that, whenever we have it, we'll bring that back. And I circulated some information on this. This is a push by MML, and you probably heard about it in the news, there was a recent Wayfair versus somebody Supreme Court decision.
Yes.
And currently, and it has to do with internet sales tax, and right now what's happening when this tax is collected is just going to the state. And so what this resolution would do is just sending off basically to Jackson, saying that, hey Jackson, we're aware of this, we know it's here, and we want you to send that sales tax back to our city the same way you would any other sales tax. So that's what this is. It's a resolution that some attorneys in MML, and we have a group of us that, you know, all communicate, and Columbus has passed it, Gulfport said they were passing it, Biloxi's passing it. So I wanted to make sure to get it to you, and the governor apparently is considering calling an executive session for it, not an executive session, a special session.
You need a motion?
So
Yeah,
it
to
passed,
approve that
it passed through, it got shot down. I thought it got shot down for some reason. I
No,
thought-
it passed the
Okay,
Supreme
Supreme Court? Okay, I was thinking it got shot down. Okay, cool.
Gene, if you open it up to a motion, I'll make a
Make
motion
sure you
that
do it
we
by
accept
zip code.
Yeah, just to
resolution.
approve that long resolution right there.
All right, so motion by Mr. Knobloch to approve the attorney's report resolution as written in the agenda, seconded by Mr. Seal. Any further discussion from the council? Vote the motion. Motion passed 7-0. Thank you. All right, anything else, Heather?
That's all I have.
All right, public forum.
I think we waited them out.
Mr. Cliff, you good? All right. Mr. Brian Thoreau. Go.
I guess it's still evening, not morning yet, so I'll say good evening. I just have a few comments as a passionate resident of Waveland in Bay St. Louis. I live in Waveland, but I have a post office box so that I have a Bay St. Louis mailing address. Martin Luther King Park. There's been discussion here. Mr. Ackers brought some things up. Reverend Reed keeps it on the calendar quite often. The NAACP for this month of July had Let's Take Back the Park the last weekends, and they have one more weekend. This last weekend that I was there, and Mr. DeSalvo of Ward 6 has been very involved. He's donated a water slide all weekends. And Gregory Barbino is very appreciative of that. Yeah. And the NAACP. So Ward 6 has been very involved. This last weekend that's coming up, I think it would be appropriate for the mayor and as many of you as can to make acknowledgement and encouragement about the community taking on what they have. Reverend Reed has led a crew for the second time of this administration cleaning up Washington. Washington is a main artery to the beach. I mean, the whole community, all of us here, have a stake in that neighborhood. That is part of the community. The police chief was down there this last weekend, spent a good hour and a half, 2 hours, communicating with people, visiting with people. David and Marcy Baria were down there for an hour, hour and a half. He wasn't down there campaigning. He was down there because that is part of his community. So I'd like to see, I'm encouraging, I'm asking, you know, a little bit more involvement, not only this last weekend, but the rest of the time, to encourage that community that they're being acknowledged in their efforts. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Bryan, what day and time is this?
Sunday, this coming Sunday.
This Sunday.
Sundays from,
And the time moves. This last Sunday was hotter and more
Yeah,
humid.
true.
Than all get out.
generally like 1 to 7, I think, though, generally is what they've been doing on Sunday.
As the afternoon
Yes.
gets a little deeper, more people get there.
Yeah, out of the church,
So
cools
basically,
down a little bit.
at the church.
And I want to thank you personally also,
You're welcome.
Josh, for
No
the
problem.
involvement you've been.
Thank you for your involvement.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Joe's gone. Mr. Cliff? Cliff Ravelli, 702 Third Street.
Cliff Rabelais, 702 Third Street. First off, I appreciate gentleman Gary. Was it 2014, we started talking about VRBO. I know Doug, you fought it back and forth through the last council. Reverend Reed, you had to sit through a lot of this, and you've listened to it. Gene, I know I've talked with you, I've talked to Larry, Buddy, I hadn't talked to you much, but I've talked to Josh. Appreciate y'all passing something, you know, some things I like about it, some things I don't, doesn't matter. We got something to start with. I want to give y'all some immediate feedback, you know, everybody's concerned we're gonna get sued. Two factions in here that was sitting, I was sitting between them. You had the Deer Street, Garden Isles faction, who is, the mentality is that these are commercial operations being done in residentials, which I don't hold that opinion, though some people do. I think, Doug, that's your opinion, and, you know, we all have disagreements. Their concern is that it's a commercial operation. That's what they base their hat on. I think Ms. Heather has said that's generally not the way things have been going. The other faction was Dr. Warner. I don't know how many of y'all knew Dr. Warner. I know, Gary, you met him before. And his tune is, well, you restricting what I can do at my property as a homeowner. Well, guess what? There's a lot of restrictions on everything we do. So.
Someone does it every day.
That's right. That's right.
Can't just do what you want on your property.
You gotta keep the grass mowed whether you like to or not. Regardless, I don't see from a VRBO owner, down to one, I sold one because they're not that profitable, particularly out in Ward 6. I think that's gonna be, between FEMA regulations and the cost of building out there, the VRBOs out in Ward 6 are people who like to use them but want to have a little help maintaining them. Well, guess when the prime season to rent them is when you want to use them. So that limits it. The primary thing, the reason we all got started on this is there were some problems. There were some overloads. There were some nuisances. We keep, the whole gist of it, we keep what goes on out there a residential type activity. I don't think we're going to have an issue. And I appreciate you guys moving on this after 3.5 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
My first amendment to it would be the $100 permit fee. The permit fee was too low, in my opinion, in there too.
You're not gonna raise money with the fees.
If you got
It's $11,000 versus $5,000.
every little bit helps.
You got a whole lot more money with parking tickets.
I think that's pretty much it for public forum as far as people that are left.
Yeah, they all run
All right. Got the minutes from July 10th workshop, July 10th meeting, July 12th workshop, and July 19th meeting. Motion to approve the minutes. Motion by Mr. Smith.
Second.
Second by Mr. Zimmerman. Any further discussion? Vote the motion. Motion passes 7-0. All right, we need to go into executive session. No. All right, just need a motion for the last one.
All right.
Motion by Mr. Smith,
Second.
second by Mr. DeSalvo. Vote the motion. 7-0. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight.